What's up, guys? Welcome to another tutorial. Today we're going to go ahead and clone the Airbnb.com homepage. So this is the actual Airbnb.com. So you'll notice they have like a big search bar up here. Got some icons, got a little menu. They've got a couple of clickable links up here. This one will give us like a mobile little nav bar. And then if we scroll down right away, Airbnb gets right into like, how can we get you into like a location. So this is like how their page is now. If we scroll down, you notice we got a lot of JavaScript going on up here. This menu collapses into this. So there's a lot of JavaScript here. There's also JavaScript over here where we can like change the images, kind of like a slider. And then on smaller screens, less images show, and you have to view them by clicking the slider buttons over here. So we're not going to do all of these JavaScript features. I want to keep this beginner friendly. So if we look at the one that I made, our main menu is just going to have the collapsed version because that we don't want to put too much JavaScript. We will do the mobile menu, so I'll show you how to create this with JavaScript. Click it again to have it disappear. Click a link to have it disappear, and then make it sticky just like the normal one. So it'll stay open and it'll just stay there until you decide to do something. And that's just like the real Airbnb website. If we go to it, it's the same functionality. So we'll build that, but we're going to skip everything else. We're going to skip the slider functionality over here. We're just going to have static images. And then on smaller screens, we're just going to use media queries to make less images show at a time like that. Okay? Because we don't want to you don't want to watch somebody write 500 lines of JavaScript. That's not a good way to learn JavaScript. So we're going to keep it, again, very simple. But everything else is going to be identical. You're going to get to the point where we're going to have the same favicon up here as you see. Same everything, same tagline. You're not going to be able to really tell the difference by going from one to the other, as long as you follow me. This is really cool. I always build tutorials like this. I like to build real company pages like this, guys, because this is how I got my start. I didn't get really good at HTML and CSS and then later on JavaScript until I really put all the tutorials and material down. And just on my own, I picked Airbnb as my first site that I ever cloned. I tell this story in several other videos. Airbnb.com was like my first quote-unquote solo project that really built my confidence. This is the original one here. I still have it on my personal GitHub. This is what Airbnb looked like 5 years ago. You can see up here how long ago that was by reading this up here. This is what Airbnb used to look like, guys. So you can see they've actually really changed the design of their homepage. Back in the day, it used to just be a landing page with random cards that you could click on and go places. And now it's much more focused on like, okay, as soon as that user hits our website, how can we get them to a destination? We're not messing around. So you can see how they've changed throughout the years, their business plan and their website, which is interesting. Really quick, guys, if you want to become a full stack developer as fast as possible, I do have a complete full stack web developer course. You'll go from zero to learning HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and PHP to become a full stack developer in just a few months. If you go to the landing page linked in the description, completewebdevcourse.com, and click Get Started, it'll take you straight to the curriculum and you can view everything that you're going to learn. All right, it's very nice. It's just like this. I teach you project-based learning, so we don't do a bunch of theory. It's really like this tutorial that you're watching now, except we don't jump right into a huge, large project like this. I teach you HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and PHP by building a ton of small projects. The course has over 25 projects that we build together, and they get bigger as time goes on, but to really learn the fundamentals, we build small little components first, and then we build up to something like this. But this project will, at least if you're a beginner, it'll give you a nice overview of how to break down a large design into a bunch of smaller projects and, get you going on that correct path there. Also, guys, link down in the description as well. Grab my practical web dev roadmap, the no BS way to get a web developer job or become a web developer as soon as possible. This started out as just like a single sheet that I wanted to give away as like a freebie to everybody, but it turned into almost like a mini ebook. It's not too long, but it's got step-by-step instructions on what to learn, how to learn it, and what to do to go from zero to full stack developer and make money as fast as possible. Okay, check this out. I also have a whole section on stuff to avoid, like the normal pitfalls that people get into that really sideline them and keep them from making money or actually getting a job and just staying in tutorial hell forever, which you don't want to do. So again, grab this. this. Link in the description right next to the course link. Go check that out now completely for free. All right, guys, so that's enough of the intro. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and get this project underway here. So the first thing we're going to do, looking at the design here, this is Airbnb.com. And understand, guys, I'm in Arizona, so Airbnb basically takes your location by default. So the destinations you see here in these pictures are probably going to be different unless you're in like Arizona like I am. You're going to have different locations, different pictures and all that. Don't worry about that. We're going to cross that bridge when we get there. And these update constantly. So even by the time you're watching this, like the design that I'm making with my photos is already going to be outdated. But again, don't worry about that. What matters is that we get the design down, and I'm going to show you how to actually grab these real images so that wherever you are, you can make it how Airbnb is at the present time for you. But the first thing we're going to do is just set up our project files, and we're going to make the Favicon up here. We're going to make our Favicon and the tagline, which is just the text that comes after that. So we'll get all of our files in the Favicon set up, and then we'll be ready to start building this thing one section at a time. So let's minimize this for now. Put this down here. I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call this Airbnb-clone. Name your project folder whatever you want. I'm just going to store my folder on my desktop. I'm on Mac. If you're on Windows or wherever you are, store your project folders wherever you want. If you want to put them in your C drive, in your downloads, in your documents folder, wherever you want, I'm just going to put mine on the desktop here. So now I'm going to open up Visual Studio Code. That's what I'm going to be using for the project. I'm assuming most of you are going to be using that too. So to open this up, we're just going to drag our folder in here. Of course, you can also go to Open Visual Studio Code, go to File, Open Folder, and open it that way. This isn't going to be like a full Visual Studio Code tutorial, so I'm going to assume you semi know what you're doing in your text editor by now. Again, if you want like the full hand-holding and the basics and fundamentals of every single little thing, check out the Complete Web Developer course, link in the description. All right, so we got our project folder here. We're going to create our file. So we need an index.html, and we're not using any frameworks, guys. This is all just vanilla HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, nothing fancy. So we've got index.html. We've got style.css. And then we'll make an app.js folder for our JavaScript. And let's get everything here. So we'll do our boilerplate code for our HTML. I'm going to hold Shift, exclamation tab. And then up here in our title, we're going to put whatever Airbnb like actually has up there. So let's go back and view that. So if we go right here, it says Airbnb with a pipe, vacation, rentals, cabins, beach houses, and more. So we're going to go ahead and add that to ours. Going to move this to my other screen because we want everything to look as close to the real design as possible. So we're going to say Airbnb, and then we're going to do a pipe. So to do that, you hold Shift, and usually like below your backspace button, there's the pipe key. That's where that's going to be. And then we're going to say vacation, comma, rentals, comma, cabins, comma, beach houses, and then they just have so ampersand, more. So let's put this side by side so we can just kind of see what's going on. Put my text editor here, drag it down, and we'll open up our clone, we'll open up the real Airbnb, and we'll put our website up here just so we can see the favicon and what we're doing here. Okay, so there's Airbnb, and then let's have ours go live. So I have this go live button in my bottom right corner. This is live server, and when I click it, it'll open up what we're actually working on here and update every time I save the page. So you can see here we have the same tagline now: Airbnb, vacation, rentals, cabins, beach houses, and more. It's the same as the real one. If you don't have this go live in your Visual Studio Code, you can get it by going to the clicking on the plugins area, or extensions, I think they call it extensions, and then just type in live server here, and then go ahead and yours is going to say install right here. Just go ahead and install it. It'll restart your VS Code, and then you'll have live server, and you can use that with me. All right, so moving on. Now we have to get the favicon. See that this little icon here in your tab is called a favicon, and we're going to go ahead and make ours now. So what I'm going to do to grab that is I'm going to go to Google, and I'm just going to type in Airbnb logo, and we're looking for this one with this background, with the pink background. and I believe it's going to be this one right here. This is just for their Favicon. We can just take this and we can right click and hit save image as. And normally you don't want to like save a real trademark on and put it on like a real production website that you're really going to have online. But for just, a little clone project that you're going to put on a portfolio or something, it's fine. Nobody's going to come after you for that. Let's go ahead and type, we'll name this Airbnb Favicon, and I'm just going to save this to my downloads folder on my Mac. Save it wherever you want on your operating system. All right, so now that we have our Favicon image, what we can do is we can go to a website that will generate the Favicon for us, so it'll look like that and put it up there. It'll generate the code for us and do everything. So to do that, again, guys, you just Google stuff, and that's how you really find out how to do things. We're just going to say Favicon generator, and we're going to go, I use this one here, realfavicongenerator.net. I've been using this for several years. Really good tool. So we're just going to go here. We're going to say pick your Favicon image, and we're going to say Airbnb Favicon, and then it'll give us a preview of what it's going to look like in Chrome and the browsers, and that's exactly what it's supposed to look like up here, right? So that's good. We know we're on the right track. And then we're going to go to scroll down, and we're going to say next. It created our Favicon package, so we're going to click download. And now mine is saved Favicon 1. And then what you're going to do is you're going to copy this line of code, just this link. It's going to give you several links for different Favicons for different devices. That's not necessary. You just want to copy the first one that says Favicon 96 by 96.png. You're going to paste that code in your head of the document. So we're going to go below our last meta tag and just paste that in. And then we're going to download the Favicon package, which we already did. So it should be mine's in my downloads folder. Just go ahead and unzip the folder. So you'll unzip it. And then all you want is the 96 by 96 Favicon right here. And it looks blurry, but that's okay. It's going to look good. It's a small image and it's blown up. It's just going to be really small, so it can be blurry like that for now. Over here, we're going to make an image folder to put this in. So let's click the new folder button. I'm going to make my images folder just called IMG. Call it whatever you want. And then I'm just going to grab the Favicon 96 by 96 and drag it in here. And there it is. So now what we have to do is we have to go to that code. We're going to make this big. And seeing the href and that code that we pasted, we have to actually put our real image folder in here now. So we're going to delete what's in there and then empty href with just the quotes. So we're going to say IMG, go in our image folder, grab our Favicon 96 by 96.png and save. And then once we save, look, now we have our Favicon. So now we have the same Favicon as them, and then it says Airbnb vacation rentals, everything. So now it pretty much looks identical, and that's what we want. Next, we're just going to go ahead and connect our CSS and our JavaScript files so that we know those are good to go. So let's do our CSS first. So I'm going to let's make this bigger. And I'm going to go below my Favicon. I'm going to make another link tag. In VS Code, I'm going to type out my tags, and I'm going to use the autocomplete by hitting tab. And then it'll fill in the rest of my tags for me. You're going to see me doing that a lot, using the autocomplete by hitting tab. So that's how I'm doing it if you're not sure. Now we're going to do, let's see, we got the href. So we just want to connect to our style.css. And then we want to go down here above, in the middle of our body, above our closing body tag. And we want to connect our JavaScript. So we're going to make script tags. And then we're going to go click inside the script tag, spacebar. We're going to say src for source, and we want to connect our app.js. Now we're going to test that our stuff is connected here. So first I'm going to make an h1, and I'm going to say test and save, and then I'm going to go to my CSS, and the first thing I'm going to do is a CSS reset. All browsers have built-in margins and paddings that we need to get rid of to take complete control of the page. So to do that, I'm going to do shift asterisk, and that means in programming, that means select everything on the page. And then we're going to say margin 0, padding 0, box sizing, border box. Okay. And then I'm going to say H1 color red to see if my H1 will turn red, and that'll let me know for sure that everything is working and our CSS file is correctly connected. So let's see if we go back here after I save. There we go. So CSS is good to go. Now we got to do our JavaScript and make sure that tests the connection there. So to do that, I'm going to go to my JavaScript and I'm going to write something called an alert. I'm just going to say alert. And what alert does in JavaScript is it just makes a little pop-up box with text and it can, pass messages to the user. So we're going to say alert. I'm going to say quotes and I'm going to say JS connected. It's like that. There we go. So I save. My alert's popping up. I know my JavaScript is working. So it's always good to test your connections out with all your files before you get started on the project, because then stuff isn't going to update. You're going to get frustrated and wonder why nothing's working. 2 hours later, you're going to realize you forgot to connect your files, right? It still happens to me sometimes even today. All right, so the last thing that I want to do is we need to add a few more things. We need to add a Google font, because you can see the font for Airbnb in here. They have their own little custom font. And if we right click and inspect, let's get out of mobile view. And if we just hover over any of their fonts here, we should get the font that they're using. So they're using a font called Airbnb Serial, if you see it up there in the top left corner. So that's their own custom font, and we're not going to be able to get that because we don't work for Airbnb and we're not Airbnb engineers. But what we can do, like we've been doing and all the good developers do, we know how to find solutions to a problem, right? So we're going to go to Google and we're going to just ask Google. We're going to say, what is a font that is similar to Airbnb Serial? And we're going to be more specific. We're going to say, what is a Google font? Because we're going to use, and then an AI overview will say, hey, Montserrat, Fig Tree, or Fura Sans are good options that look almost exactly like Airbnb Serial. So there we go. We found our answer, right? Remember, guys, if you're going to be a developer, you're going to constantly have little problems that you have to solve. If you can't get a font, go to Google, find an alternative, okay? So there we go. We're going to grab Montserrat since that's the first one it gave us. So we're going to go to Google Fonts. And then up in the search bar, we're going to start typing in Montserrat. So there it is, Montserrat. And we're going to say get font. Okay, now it's in our little shopping bag. We're going to say get embed code. And we're going to copy all of this embed code here. So hit copy code. And we're going to paste this up in our HTML. I'm going to paste this above my style sheet. Save. And now we have to get the CSS property to actually have it on our page. It's right here, font family Montserrat sans serif backup. So copy that. And we're going to go into our CSS. And I'm going to go below my asterisk, and I'm going to say body. I'm just going to select the whole body. I'm going to say, hey, font family for my whole body is going to be font family Montserrat. So we're going to save and then check our font. And I'm saving, guys. You can update and save your document. You can go to File, Save every time, like that. Or I'm hitting, on my Mac, I'm hitting Command S. Or on Windows, you can hit Control CTRL and S to save, do the shortcut save, however you want to save your document. So let's go check our font, and there we go. Now we're in Montserrat, so that's good. One more thing that I want to add is they have icons. They have like a search icon, a globe icon, the little bars icon here. They have hearts. There's a lot of icons on this site, and we're going to grab those using a free tool called Font Awesome. Now, all of the icons that we use are not going to be identical to the icons that Airbnb uses, but they're going to be pretty close because we're just going to use the free version of Font Awesome, so we're not going to have full access to the library like Airbnb does, but that's okay. As long as we get stuff as close as possible, that's all that matters. So let's go here, and we're going to go to that website. It's called fontawesome.com. And when you first get here, this is a very popular site to get web icons. So if you're not already signed up for an account and you're an aspiring developer or developer, you're going to want to get very familiar with Font Awesome. You're going to use it just as much as Google Fonts. You're going to use it a ton. So if you're not signed up yet, you're going to get to the home page. You're going to click on, there should be a little icon over here. If you don't already have an account, sign up. You know how to sign up for accounts. I'm not going to do that with you. Obviously, you're going to give them your email. You're going to create a password, and then it's going to have you create something called a kit. So you're going to be able to go to your kits. If you don't have a kit yet, hit add new kit. All a kit is just a snippet of code that allows you to connect to Font Awesome, just like with Google Fonts, so that you can use their stuff. So once you create your kit, it'll be down here. You can click on it. And then this is your kit. It's your own little, basically, API little code that you can copy. So I'm going to copy mine. Go ahead and copy yours after you sign up. And again, it's going to go in the head of your website. So again, I'll put it above my style sheet and paste it below my Google font. And now just to show you, we'll have access to all of the free Font Awesome icons. So if we go to the search bar, we can just click on free. I can click house, copy the code just by clicking in there. And then I can just put it right below my H1, a house icon, and save. And there we go. Now we know Font Awesome is working. Now, obviously, we don't want to use that. I was just showing that to you, so we can delete that for now. And that should be all we need for now. So next up, we're going to start building this design out one step at a time. So remember, we're going to start with the menu first. So our menu is not going to look like this because we're not going to build the collapse functionality like that. I don't want to add too much JavaScript. So our menu is just going to look like this. It's going to be the simplified version. We're going to have our logo over here, our middle bar. And this bar is really just, it's not really a search bar in a form. It's just really on the back end, it's really just JavaScript where when the user clicks any of these, it'll pop up, either that calendar or whatever else. If you click where, it'll pop that up. It's really just a event in JavaScript that will display something, but we're not even going to have that. Ours is just going to be a static kind of little area here, and when you click stuff, nothing will happen, but we'll have like the image. It's going to look identical. It's still going to look really good. And then over here, we're going to have these other links, and then we are going to build this in JavaScript. So we'll go ahead and get started next on building this this area up here, a little navigation bar. All right, guys, so before we continue on here, I want to address one thing that we have to get right away, and that's the images. We got to get the images. There's a ton of images that we're going to have to download for this, and I'm going to tell you how I did it. So we're going to need this Airbnb logo. And to get that, of course, again, you're just going to go to Google, type in Airbnb logo. And then we're looking for this one where it's got the logo to the side and then Airbnb. So it's going to be like this one right here. So you can go ahead and download this, save the image, and then you can just save it as Airbnb logo. And then what you need to do is because our logo area has like a gray background, so it has to be transparent. So that's where you're going to go to a tool online to remove the background. So I usually just use the tool called Remove BG. So I go to Google and I go to Remove BG, remove background, free background remover. This is the website remove.bg. I upload the image. So we just downloaded this Airbnb logo, and we don't want to have a white background, so we're removing the background right now. So it should just be the Airbnb. Now it's transparent, and we can actually put it on our website. So then you'll go ahead and download it, and it's going to say the preview free version, 300 by 168. That's big enough. You don't need it bigger than that. So just go ahead and download it. And then if you open it and whatever you use to preview on Mac, it's it's called the preview app. You'll see that it's transparent, and then you'll go ahead and you'll go in your folder, and you'll go to wherever it is in your downloads or wherever. You're going to get the preview logo, remove BG, preview.png. That's what you should be called after you use the website, and you'll just drag it on over into your images folder. Now, spoiler alert, I already have the images. I've already built this project once off screen so that I can make a smoother video for you guys. So I have all the images that I need saved. But that's how I got that image. I went through that. So go ahead and do that to get the logo. And then I want you to notice that there's also, when we go down into mobile screens like this, the logo just becomes whatever this thing is. Like, I don't know, I guess it's an A. It looks like a bent boomerang, but I think that's just like an A. I don't know what that's supposed to be. Probably an A for Airbnb, right? So it goes from Airbnb next to it to just that symbol, okay? So you'll have to grab that as well. So again, you're going to do the same thing we just did. You're going to go to Google, and you're going to say Airbnb logo, and then this time you just want this one, right? I think it's just like the lighter pink one. Let's see. This one will be fine, or this one. Is it darker? Might be might be this one. Might be this darker one. So same thing, just go ahead, save the image, and then go to remove BG. So remove.bg and remove the background, and then save it here again. I have mine saved. I saved that one as mobile logo, and then I have nav logo, which is the main one. So go ahead and save those two images. The next image that we're going to get is this little house. So remember, we're not going to make our nav look like this. We're going to have it be in this view. And there's another image here, that this little house for anywhere. If you right click it, you can actually save this image as, and then just save it as however you want. I think I saved mine as like nav house, and you can actually download it right from the website. It's a .avif image. That's kind of a new image that's like kind of taking, it's like how WebP used to be like 5-10 years ago. Everybody was like, what the hell is that? And AVIF, it's just a new image format. All the browsers, all modern browsers recognize it, so you can use it safely. And it's just a more compressed image, so a smaller file size, but the images look better than WebP images. It's kind of like the new image format that's gaining more popularity online. That's what .avf is. So you can use that just fine as a .avf. If you want to convert it to like a PNG, again, you can go to a website and just say AVIF to PNG if you want all of them to be PNG or JPEG or whatever you want. I have all my images for the project as just .avif, and they're showing fine in all browsers, so it works fine, guys. You can just use the AVIF. Next, you're going to need, so these over here are just going to be font awesome icons, so you don't need to download any images for that. You do want to download this one though, so when we open up the mobile menu, there's like this little doll here. You can't tell it's a doll, but it's a little creepy looking doll. So you can right click and same thing, save image as, download that as like mobile menu doll or whatever you want to call it. And then look at this creepy thing. Here, let me show you guys. Look how creepy this thing looks. Look at that. Oh, God. So, again, I think what did I save that as? Become host, because it's near the become host area. Become a host, so that's what I saved it as in my images. And like I said, I copy-pasted my image folder from my original project over, because I don't want to spend a whole 30 minutes of video time with you guys just downloading images. I'm just showing you how to get them, and then you're going to go get your own. So those are really the images that you have to get for the Navbar that we're about to build. Now, as far as these images, there's, and again, your Airbnb is going to look different than mine based on your location and where you live. I'm in Arizona, so it's showing me locations near Arizona that are here, like Flagstaff, Arizona, Phoenix. It's also showing me stuff from like San Diego, Los Angeles, Mexico. Puerto Penasco is like a very popular place for Arizona people to go in Mexico. It's just across the border, and it's like a little resort town. So it's showing me that, showing me Scottsdale, Arizona. If you're in New York, it's going to show you New York, maybe some places in New Jersey, Pennsylvania. It's going to show you different locations with different pictures. Bottom line is, we got to download images so that you can make this clone look legit. And it's just easy. The easiest thing to do is just get these images here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rows of images here. And so how I saved each image, the first thing you do to actually get the images is if you try to right click the images here on the homepage, and it's not going to let you save image as, so you can't do it that way. But what you can do is you can click into the image, click the image to actually go to the destination, and then that same image from the homepage is going to be the big first one right here. And you can right click and save image as and just save it that way. So that's basically what you're going to do. I'm not going to do this. We're not going to take 30 minutes to save images together. It takes too long, and it's straightforward. You don't need to do that. So what I want you to do now is go through each one of these rows, okay, whatever your images are, and click each image like this, and then right click and save image as, okay? And it's just every main image is this main big image here. So it's not, you could use any image you want, but this is like the main one that you're seeing on the homepage. All right, so you're just going to keep going through. You're going to click the next one, right click, save image as, save it. And how I organized it in mine, if you want to just go to GitHub, go to the description. If you just want to grab all the images that I save and save yourself a bunch of time, you can just copy my images and locations and everything. That's totally an option as well. And how I save them in my image folder is I saved each row. So when I built the homepage, I think there's 10 rows showing. There was only 9 rows of images when I built this like a couple weeks ago. So the homepage has already changed since then. But it's the same design, just more rows of images. But see how I saved it nice and organized? Within my image folder, I made other folders for each row of images, and then I numbered them in order of 1 to 7, because you get 7 images across on desktop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So that's how I saved all mine. And then row 1, 2, 3, 4, just to keep it nice and organized. I recommend you guys copy my format and do the same. So go ahead. The choice is yours now. It's time to make the decision. Do you want to go to my GitHub and just download the project and just copy my images folder over? Or do you want to make the homepage look like your local area with your local destinations with your own images? And again, last time, you're going to do that by clicking on each image in order in each row. Click on it, and then this is the main image, save as. Okay? So make that decision now, and go ahead and get your images saved, because then next we're going to move on, and we're going to start building the navbar here. All right, guys, so let's build our top navigation for the desktop version at least. So again, we're going to scroll down. This is the simplified version that we're going to build, just the logo, this little middle input area, and then the other little menu over here, become a host, the globe, and the 3 bars. So let's get started with that. So this is what we have so far. We just have our little test text, and that's it. So we can get rid of that. Let's delete test. Let's go to style.css and get rid of this h1. We don't need that there. I am going to make a container class. So we're going to say dot container, and this is just going to give us some default margin padding on the sides of our whole design, so it's not all the way out to the edge. Every modern website is wrapped in some kind of container class, and that's where this padding on the sides is coming from. Notice how the whole design has it. You're never going to see a design where stuff goes all the way out to the edge, because that just looks sloppy and silly, right? So that's what a container class does in CSS. So we'll say dot container, and then I'm going to say max width. And screens get really wide. I'm personally on a 32-inch Samsung monitor, curved monitor, when I'm building this with you guys. Most people that have like a home computer setup of some time have even if you have a laptop, they usually have like a large external monitor that they connect to it. So knowing that screens are like super wide nowadays, I'm going to make the max width 1800 pixels for my container. Pretty freaking big, but again, warranted for just how computer monitors are today. They're basically like TVs. And then we're going to have the width 95%, so that'll give us that little padding on the sides. And then we'll just say margin auto. Okay. And then you won't see anything yet because we have to start making our actual HTML, but we do have our container class there. Again, another thing that I want to do just by default is I want all my unordered list items to not have those bullet points, because we're about to make list items. So knowing that, I'm already going to say UL, all unordered list items on my site. I want list style to be none. And then all of my anchor tags, all of our links, I want right out of the gate, I already know that I want them to have text decoration none by default. So let's just do that now. And I want them all to be cursor pointer no matter what. Okay. And so those are the styles that I'll set up. We'll call those our global styles. So we're going to be commenting our CSS here. So let's go up here. Just make a CSS comment. And I made that by hitting Command and question mark on my keyboard on my Mac. That's a multi-line comment. It's the same thing on Windows. It's just control question mark. Just hold control and then hit question mark. You should get a multi-line CSS comment. And then up here we'll say global styles. All right. And then now we're going to do our next area, which is going to be the header navigation area, which is what we're building now. So we can actually just copy this comment. It's good to have all your CSS commented, because we're going to have a lot of CSS lines for this project. So it'll help us jump to sections that we need to fix. So we'll say header / navigation area is going to go down here. And then let's go to our HTML and actually start building this out. So again, our header nav area is just going to be this. It's got a gray background and then all this stuff up here. So we're going to say header. And before we do header, well, actually then, yeah, after header, because header goes all the way across, it has that gray background. And then within the header, we're going to use our container class. So we'll say dot container so that our nav has some padding on the sides. And then we're going to make a class, or we're going to make a nav element. So we'll say nav, and I'm going to give our nav a class of main-nav. And I'm going to give most of our elements, almost every element that we make is going to get a class to make it easy to identify and style if we need to style it in the future. So get ready for that. That's just how I like to code my stuff. And then the first area that we're going to have, if we're looking at the design, is going to be our logo area. So I'm going to make a div, and I'm going to call it, I'll give it a class of logo container. And then in there, we're going to have we're going to say image, and we're going to have our logo in there. So we'll go to our image folder and we're going to do nav logo PNG. So if we save and look at ours, there's our logo. Now it's really big. We're going to resize that with CSS so it looks like that, but it's there. So that's good. Below our nav logo div. So if we go here, we're going to go right below here. So that's our first section because we're going to be using Flexbox to flex these all together. So that's our first area. Now we need another div or container so that this will go side by side with it. And we're going to call this thing up here our trip. I'll call it like a trip planner. So we'll say trip planner container because that's pretty much what this area does. It lets you start planning your trip. So let's say dot trip planner container and tab. And that's going to give us a div with the class of trip planner container. And then within the trip planner container, there's 3 areas. There's anywhere, then anytime, then add guests. So we're going to do that. So we'll make another div and I'll say anywhere container. And then first we're going to have that image of that little house here. So I'm going to go into my image file. So I'm going to say image element, go into my image folder. And then I'm going to grab the anywherehouse.avif and save. And then you can see that's the house image. So we got that. And again, I'm just pretty much just going to look at the design now and build out my HTML with all the elements that go in order, right? That's all we're doing right now. And then next to the image, there's a paragraph that says anywhere, or what I'm going to make it a paragraph. It's just text. We'll put it in a p tag. So for this alt text, we really don't need alt text on this because this is really just decoration. So I'm just not going to have alt text on there because it's not essential. And then for this, we didn't do alt text here. We'll just say Airbnb logo for this alt text. All right. And then so let's go right below our image and let's put a paragraph. And I'll put a class on there called planner-text. And then in there, we're just going to put the word anywhere. So we'll say anywhere. So this is what we have so far. It's going to look really ugly until we style it. Let's see. After our anywhere area, we have the anytime area right next to it. And if you'll also notice, before we do that, we actually have this little divider here. It's kind of like a pipe like we have up here, but it's a little bit longer. And I'm going to show you, we're actually going to make that with HTML and CSS because you can make stuff like that. I'll show you how to do that. But let's go right below our anywhere container ends here. Let's go below there. And I'm going to make a div. I'm going to call it pipe container. And then in there, we'll have the actual pipe, which is just going to be a div for now that we're going to give background color, height, and width to. You'll see how we make it. So in there, it's just going to be an empty div with the class of pipe. So now if we go below that, because that's basically now, so we just made this, and then the pipe divider. Now we have to make anytime. So we're going to go here. And for here, we'll say anytime container. And then within that div, we're going to have our paragraph. And it's just really going to be the same. It's just going to say planner text for the class. We'll just copy this and paste it here. And then just change the text to anytime. And then we'll go and we're going to copy. There's another little divider pipe thing here. So let's copy this. And then let's go below our anytime container. Put the pipe right there for the next divider. Okay, and then remember this whole thing, we're all in the trip planner container, which is just this little input looking thing here. So we're still in there. We have our second pipe, and then after that, we're going to make another div, and it's going to be our guest container. So we'll say dot add guests container, and then we're going to have the same thing in the little paragraph with the planner text class. So let's put that here, and then in here, we're going to say add guests. And then you'll also notice that next to add guests, we actually have a little search icon with a that little Airbnb, like whatever that is, like pinkish, purplish mixture, whatever color that is. It's got a little background to that. So next to add guests, we're going to go in here and I'm going to make a search icon container. And then in there, we're going to put the search icon. So let's go grab that from Font Awesome. So I'm going to go to Font Awesome. And let's see, we're going to go to search. And I'm going to type in magnifying glass. There it is. So let's grab this. And we're going to I'm going to go click on, I want this to be smaller than normal. So I'm going to click on the styling tools thing right here. And I'm going to click on SM. So it's got this FA-FSM class. That makes it just a little smaller than normal. And so we'll copy that and we'll put that right here and save. Okay. There's our icon. As you can see, it's starting to kind of take shape, right? We have our HTML. You can kind of see where things are now. All right, so that's all the HTML we need for this middle part, right? So now we're moving on to the last part, which is just the globe icon and these little bars. So let's see, our trip planner containers here. So we want to go below this div, and we're going to make our third area. And this is going to be another UL, or our first UL, right? And I'm going to give this a class of nav-menu-links. And we can't really see in this big area, but there's actually another thing right here on the desktop that says become a host. So if we make this bigger, it's become a host, then the globe, then the bars. So first thing we're going to have here is an LI. And I'm going to give this an ID of host link for styling later on when we make this mobile. You'll see why, but just give it an ID of host link for now. And then in that LI, we're going to have an anchor tag, and we're going to give it a class of nav-link. And we don't need this to have an href because our links aren't going to go anywhere, so I'm just going to delete that. And then in here, we're just going to write the words become a host, just like it has. Whoops. So become a host, okay? Save. There we go. And then we're going to copy this down a couple times, 1, 2. And we'll get rid of the host link ID. We don't need that on our LIs for this. But we will give it a class of nav icon container, because we actually will need to do that because these icons have a gray background. So we have to have them in a container to make that happen. So we'll say nav icon container. Copy this class. I'll put it on the one right here. Delete the ID. And then for these, instead of having become a host, they're actually going to have the actual icons in there from Font Awesome. So the first one is the globe. So let's go inside this link. Let's go to Font Awesome. And we're going to look for the globe. Now, we can't get the same one that Airbnb has, unfortunately, because we don't have the Pro plan. Unless you have the Pro plan for this, you can get the globe that isn't colored in or solid. So I'm going to grab this one that is solid, and I'm just going to use this one. It's no big deal. We don't need to have everything be perfect. So I'm going to grab the globe here, just copy this, and I'm going to drop this here, save. There's our globe, and now we just need our little hamburger menu bars. So I'm going to go to Font Awesome, and I'm just going to search for bars, and just get these bars right here. Go ahead and copy that. And I'm just going to paste them right here. And we'll check what we have. There we go. So we have everything there. So that's all the HTML that we need for our nav menu. Now we'll go ahead and jump into CSS and style it up so that it looks like this on desktop. All right, guys. So we have all the HTML here. Now let's go ahead and add our CSS so that it goes from looking like this to this. So we'll start with we'll just grab the header by its element tag here. So we'll go under the header/navigation area, and we'll just select the header. And it's got this dark or gray background color, so we're going to do that first. So we'll say background color, and it's going to be hex code FBFBFB. So we'll save. And then you can see here we got our white, and then we have our little gray for the header. And then we'll say padding all around of 1.5 rem. And then something that you need to notice about the header is it always stays as you scroll on the page. It always stays in the same spot. And for that, we're going to use a property called sticky to make it stick to the top. So we're going to say position, and we're going to say sticky, save. And then we're going to also say top 0 so that it always stays at the top of the page. That's what that'll do. And then we're going to say Z index, and I'm just going to put a big number here, like 20, to make sure that it always sits on top of everything on the page. So that as we scroll down, it'll stay on top of the content and hide it, but it'll stay here. It'll always be on top of everything. Okay. So next we have to use Flexbox to make our logo, our little input area, and our icons over here go side by side and space out. So we'll use Flexbox for that. So let's grab our main nav right here. Copy that. And I'm always going to copy and paste my classes and IDs that I'm styling so that we avoid typos. And we'll say dot main nav. And then let's look at what we're doing here. So we're going to say display flex, align items center. And then we'll say justify content. And we'll say space between. I know everything is going side by side, but our images are so big that it's kind of messing up how everything should flow. So we'll fix that here. So let's fix our nav logo here. So let's go ahead and we have the nav logo image right here. Let's put a class on here of nav-logo so that we can easily grab onto the image itself. And we'll say dot nav logo. And I'm going to give it a width of 150 pixels to make it a lot smaller. So that's about the size of the normal Airbnb logo. Okay. And then we also want to fix this house because it's annoying me. So I want to fix that now. So what did we name that? Did we put an ID on there? We didn't. So let's put a class on here of nav-house. And that's this image here. And I should probably make this a little bit bigger for you guys. There we go. So you can see the code a little bit clearer. So we have nav house now for our house image. So we can say, let's copy that. Say dot nav house. So copy, put our dot selector, nav house. And for that one, we're going to give it a width of just 55 pixels. It's pretty small. If we look at the design, it's about that size. So pretty close. Everything isn't going to be pixel perfect, but we're going to get it pretty close. What's next? Let's do our trip planner container, which is all this stuff in the middle here. So let's say, copy this, trip planner container, say dot trip planner container. And this is going to be display, flex, align items center, justify content center. Okay, so it's starting to go side by side. It still looks a little messed up here, but we'll fix all that. It's going to have a background color of white because we're basically, this isn't really an input. It's kind of like Airbnb made this look like an input field, but it's really just a div with a background and some border radius to make it look like an input. Because remember, on the real website, all this really is like a div with 3 sections that you can click. And then there's click events on here with JavaScript that'll display different menus and stuff, depending on what you clicked. So we're going to make ours, it's just a div, just like we did in our HTML here. We just made this whole thing a div, right? It's not an input field like you think it would be. So let's say trip planner container. We got everything flexed. We'll say background, color, white. And then we'll do border radius of 35 pixels. So that gets rounded, okay? And then we're also going to add some box shadow to it. So to generate box shadow, I always just use an online tool. So I literally just go to Google and I type in box shadow generator. And then I've been using cssgenerator.org for a long time to do this. I still use it. I don't write box shadow from scratch. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make this either -1 or 0, as close to a 0 as I can get it. It's kind of janky. There's probably better online tools. So there we go, 0. I'm just a creature of habit, guys. This probably isn't the best way to do this anymore, but it's just how I learned. So we'll go 0, 0, and then blur radius we'll put to like 10 pixels. And then spread radius we'll put to like -1, something like that, maybe a little bit less. Just want to give it a little bit of box shadow, a little subtle, because that's what it has on the design. If we look at it, there's some slight box shadow all the way around the input to kind of make it stand out. So let's do something like this. Let's make this go up a little bit. There we go, 10. And then we'll just do something like that. So I'm just going to copy this first box shadow. These other two are for older browsers like Internet Explorer, and I think this is for like old Mozilla to make box shadow show up correctly, but that code isn't really needed in modern day browsers. Everything renders pretty well with just box shadow, so we don't got to worry about that. So we'll just put box shadow down here, save, and then we can see now we can see this a lot more clear, so that's good. So next we got to do our anywhere container, which is the house and the anywhere text. So let's grab that right here. We'll copy anywhere container. And as you can see, guys, we're just going right down in order as stuff appears on the page, right? So nothing too complicated here. We're just styling everything in the order that we made it with HTML. Just going left to right, right? So anywhere container, and we'll say display flex, align item center, and we'll save and see what we got here. So now anywhere in the house are next to each other side by side, so that's good. And then we're going to space them out left and right. For that, we're going to use something called column gap, and that's basically just padding. Just adds padding to flexed items. So we'll say column gap 5 pixels to separate them a little bit. And there we go. Now we got some separation here, so that's good. And then we're going to say font size 14 pixels and font weight of 500. Okay. And we can probably just add the font weight and font size to the whole trip planner container, so that everything takes those on, because we want them all to pretty much be the same font size and everything. So we'll just add it there. And now we have to make the little separator, the little pipe right here. So we'll make that with HTML and CSS. So right here we have our pipe container, and then we have the pipe itself. So let's select our pipe class. So we'll say dot pipe, and we're going to say width about 1 pixel, height 25 pixels, background color, I'm going to say hashtag 333, so like a darker gray. And then the pipes are like, they're gray, but they're like light. So to do that, to make it light, almost transparent, we're going to use something called opacity. That makes stuff like more see-through or less see-through. And I'm going to put that to 0.2. So I want you to see what happens when I save here. If we save, it creates the little pipe here. See that? That's how we do that. And then to give some spacing left and right on the pipe, like it is here, see how there's like clear spacing here? We'll grab the pipe container for that. So let's copy pipe container, put it above pipe, and we'll just say margin 0, top and bottom, 1 rem left and right. Boom. And now, since remember we made a pipe there and another pipe separator, where did we make the, oh, they're right here, 1 and 2. Okay. So since they have the same classes, we created 2 pipes at once and gave them that margin. So there's the other separator, and it looks pretty damn close to the regular Airbnb one. So that's pretty good. So we got to do the add guest container now and display those side by side. So let's say add guest. So we'll say go below pipe, say dot, add guest container. And we're going to say display flex, align item to center. And then same thing, we'll say column gap 5 pixels. Okay. And then we have the icon here, and it has to have like that pinkish purplish Airbnb color background, and the icon has to be white. So we got to do that. So first let's select the search icon container so we can make that circle purplish pinkish background. So we'll say dot search icon container, and I'm going to give it, this is how you make circles, guys. I'm going to show you how to do that. So you give it just a height and a width. So you go height, and we'll say 32 pixels for the height, width of 32 pixels. You want it to be a perfect circle, so height and width are going to be the same. And then you have to give it a border radius. So border radius of 50%, that's what makes it circular. We can't see anything yet because we have to add that background color. So we'll say background color, and that color is going to be FF385C. There we go. And now we've got that. And now we have to make the icon go center in here. So to do that, we can use Flexbox. Back in the day, you used to have to use position, absolute, and relative to do that, but Flexbox makes it really easy. We just say display, flex, align item center, justify content center. So as long as you have an element that's in a container and it has a defined height and width, you can use Flexbox, flex, center, and center to make it go in the complete center of whatever the container is. That's like a little Flexbox trick you can use. And then we can give it some space on the side. So we could say margin We can say 0 pixels top and bottom, 6 pixels left and right. Just give it some space in the box here. So now we've got that little space there. It's not right up against the edge. And then we have to make the magnifying glass white. So to do that, since we're going to have multiple magnifying glass icons in this design. So I'm just going to use inline CSS, even though that's not like the best practice. I only want it to apply to this one, so I'm just going to use it. So I'm going to say style, and I'll just say color, white, save, and then I'll make just that icon white. Okay, so just a little bit of inline styles there. It's not best practice, but for stuff like this, it comes in handy. So let's look at our trip planner area and theirs. So pretty close, right? Not pixel perfect, but really, really close. It looks really good. So now we just got to do these icons and stuff over here. So we got to make this bigger because on the bigger screens, Become a Host is there. So let's make this a little smaller, this a little bit bigger. See, Become a Host kicks in on like basically this would be like laptop screens and bigger. So just to know that that's why it's there. And then of course we're going to display it none on our smaller screens. So let's go to, let's see what we call these, nav menu links. So we'll grab .nav menu links. That's our other little menu over here. So we'll say .nav menu links, and we'll say display flex, align item center, and then we're going to say column gap 1 rem, save, and then now all of our stuff over here is side by side like it should be. And now we gave each of these icons a container called nav icon container if we look at our HTML. And that's because we have to do the same thing that we did with this, except give it like a gray circle background for our icons. So we're going to do that. So we have nav icon container. We'll go down here, say .nav icon container, and then we're going to say width 40 pixels, height 40 pixels, background color is going to be hashtag F2 F2 F2. Okay, so there we can see our backgrounds are forming now. So now we got to make it circular. So we'll say border radius 50%. And then we can just copy display flex, all this align item center stuff, paste it down here to center the icons in there, and boom, that's how you do that. And then we're also going to make sure they always have cursor pointer, so we'll put cursor pointer on there, okay? And then if we look at the design, when we hover over them, the background gets slightly darker, so let's add that. So for that, we're going to add a transition. We'll say transition all 0.1 seconds, so basically immediately, and we'll say ease in. And then we'll copy this, paste it down here. It's going to be nav icon container. We're going to use the hover pseudo selector. And then on hover, we're going to change the background color to hashtag EB. Save. And then if you wanted to, instead of putting all, like technically you're supposed to put, just what you're going to affect. So we would say background color, and it'll still work just the same. Okay. But sometimes I just get lazy a lot. I just always put all, you know what I mean? Especially, and if you're going to do more than one thing, you'll just put all most of the time. But just to give you that little FYI there, that's the best practice, is to put only what you're going to transition. And then if you see here, when we go to the normal website, host link actually has the same kind of thing, but it also looks like the background is like a little bit lighter color than this one when we hover over it. So let's do this. Let's go to our host link. Let's see, we have an ID on there of host link already to differentiate it. So we'll copy that and we'll say hashtag host link. And technically the host link is first, so we should put it above these two. Okay, so we got host link, and we're just going to make this one a little bit different. So for this one, we'll give a border radius of 35 pixels. And we won't be able to see anything yet because we have to give it a background color. So we'll do the hover effect. So let's do the transition. And it's going to be the same thing as this one, the background color ease in. So I might as well just copy all that. Then we'll do our hover pseudo selector. We'll say hover, and we'll say now the background color is going to be F2, 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 a little bit lighter. If we hover It's there, but now we got to make it bigger than that. So we'll give it a height of 40 pixels and a width of 130 pixels. There we go. So now it's there, but now we have to center it again like the other one. So we have to use our display flex and center. So we can just copy this and put it here. And now if we hover over it, that looks better. Getting there. Our font looks like their font. They have like a darker font weight and smaller text size on Become a Host than we do. So let's do font size 13 pixels. That looks a little better. And we'll say font weight. And we'll put 600. Okay. Now let's hover over it. That's looking a lot better. And for our width, we forgot to put px for pixels, or I forgot. Let's save that. There we go. It should fix it. There we go. Now it looks pretty much just like the regular one. Maybe we'll make this like font weight just 500 though, a little bit less bold. That looks better. There's ours. There's that's it. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Perfect. So that's pretty much it for how the desktop menu should look, at least on laptop screens and bigger. Now we'll use some media queries we have to change how things look on mobile a little bit. We definitely have to change the logo because it goes from that in Airbnb to just the symbol, and then Become a Host also disappears. So we'll start using our media queries now to change and make this menu mobile friendly. And of course, to do that, we're going to be using media queries, CSS media queries. So the first media I'm going to do is going to be for tablets, and how I'm going to find, you're going to notice that I have several media queries, and how I got like which width to make each media query, like the cutoff for displaying stuff, is I would hit right click and inspect, and I do this as I like build all my projects and set them up beforehand. As I look at I click on this little icon down here in the Google Developer Tools to show the mobile view of a design, and then I just see like what looks like what on different screen sizes and devices. So if we're checking tablets, if we go to like the iPad Air, that still looks okay at 820, but it's a little scrunched up. And then at 1180, it still all looks really good. But where I really want to start to change the menu, maybe get rid of the Airbnb from the logo and the Become a Host, is around 1024. And that's like a small iPad. They call it the iPad mini nowadays. This was like the standard iPad size when I was growing up, the 768 and then 1024 when you turn it sideways. So when we get to like 1024 and lower is where I want to start making this look more like the mobile menu by getting rid of Become Host and the Airbnb thing. That's what I'm going to do, just so it looks good across all devices. Even though we'll still have some space left, but that's where I want to start these styles. Or we could even do like 1023, so maybe just a little bit below there. So that would be like mobile phones. So like this like 915 pixel range, it would be the mobile style. So let's do 1023. So let's go to our media or our CSS, and we'll make our first media query. So we'll go down here. Let's actually make a comment. So let's grab this, copy that down to here, and we'll say media queries. This is where our mobile styles start, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is make the 10 for 1023 and smaller for our menu. So we'll say at media screen and then I use max width. I'm a max width guy. I don't like to use min width. So we'll say max width 1023 pixels and lower. So basically on medium tablets and lower, we're going to change the mobile menu. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is add our mobile logo to our HTML and our logo area. So we have our logo container up here, and we have the nav logo right here. So right below it, I'm going to say image, and I'm going to go into my image folder, and I want my mobile logo PNG. And I'm going to save. And then that's just the A or boomerang A symbol for Airbnb by itself without Airbnb being next to it. So that's our mobile logo. So let's actually put a class on here of mobile-logo. And what we can do is we can say on the 1023 and lower, let's see, what did we make this one? Nav logo. So let's grab nav logo, and we'll say 1023 and lower. Our .nav logo, our nav logo class, we're going to say display none to get that out of the way. And now obviously we have to display this none by default, our mobile logo on desktop. So let's grab the mobile logo class, because if we look at it now on desktop, it's going to just show that. It's going to show both, right? We don't want that either. So let's go here and we'll go up. See, nav logo, say dot mobile logo display none. Okay, so that fixes that. And then nav logo, we want to display block, so that comes back. So there we go. There's our, and we might actually not even need that because it should display block or display by default. But see, once we get down below 1023, it's gone. Okay. So then let's go down here. Our mobile logo, say dot mobile logo, display block width 150 pixels, because right now it's kind of breaking the design. And we might even want to make it smaller than that. Maybe like 120. Because there's, when we get down, it's pretty small looking. Maybe like 80. That might be more like it. Yeah, that's a lot closer. Maybe even smaller, like 75. I think 75 is going to be our final answer there. Okay. And then become a host. We should make that disappear too, because they don't have that on the smaller area. They make both the become a host disappear, that text link. So that's why we put an ID on it earlier. So if we go down here, we have become a host and we have host link ID on here on the LI itself. And that's to differentiate it from navlink. So now if we do, we can go down here and say our hashtag, which is our ID selector, and say host link. We can say display none on those screen sizes and smaller. And then now it's gone here after we saved. So see what happens now? Now we're on our tablet size. Boom. Okay, so that looks just like it's supposed to now. If we do the same thing here, boom. So theirs is even set to a little bit smaller, but for simplicity's sake, I'll just keep this media query at 1023. It doesn't have to be dead on with Airbnb, but it's, you know, it's pretty close. It's within about 100 pixels or less. So here's ours. Desktop, boom, tablet. Okay, so we're getting there. So the next thing we have to do for our mobile menu, when we go to like full mobile screen, so which would be like right here, is it's just going to be the search bar and then homes, experiences, and services. And that's how we're going to make it. We're not going to make it like this with all these big images here, because I can't even save those images anyway. So, whoops, there's no way to like make that. There's no way to clone that. There's no way to clone that area perfectly anyway, so that's why I'm just going to cop out and kind of do just these three just to make our lives easier, right? So let's go ahead and we'll start setting that up now. So what we're going to do to make our mobile menu like this is we're going to just create a whole new HTML menu for mobile screens only. So when we go down here like this, we're going to create HTML to just make this, because it's, you know, it's so different from our other stuff that we're not going to... Us trying to fight the layout with just using CSS and not creating more HTML is going to be a nightmare. So to make our lives easy, we're just going to make a whole separate HTML for that area. So let's go back to our HTML. And where we can put this, we can just put this above our header here. So let's just put it above the header. And we'll call this the mobile sticky menu. So we'll make a comment. So we'll say mobile sticky menu, and then below we'll say another comment. We'll say mobile sticky menu end. And then we can put start on this one, just to make it really easy so that we know like what's going on if you ever look back at the project. Oh yeah, I made a whole other like mobile sticky menu for this little view up here for mobile. So I'm going to, in our comments here, I'm going to start coding this up. So I'm going to make a div, and it's going to have a class of mobile sticky menu. container. Really long-winded, but again, I like to be very descriptive so I know exactly what stuff does, okay? I'm not a big guy who likes to abbreviate everything. I don't like it confuses me. After that, we need to build the search bar. So we need to build a div that looks like a search input and then that has a text and an icon in it. So for that, we're going to say another div, and it's going to be mobile sticky menu search. And then in there, we're going to first have our search icon and then the text. So we need to grab a magnifying glass. And I think we already have one in here that we can just copy paste right here from our other search icon container for the desktop. So we'll paste that in there. And just to show you what we're dealing with here, well, it's going to be kind of hard to see everything because we got this in the way right now. So let's just get all the HTML that we know we need, and then we'll make everything disappear and style it up. After that, we have some text. So we'll put a paragraph, and I'm going to call it a class of mobile search-p. And that text simply says start your search. So we'll say start your search. Okay. Now below it, I'm going to put an unordered list to make a menu for homes, experiences, and services. So we'll go below our mobile sticky menu search div, but we're going to still stay in our mobile sticky menu container. And we'll say unordered list UL, and we'll say dot mobile dash nav dash menu. And then we're going to have li links. And we'll call this, we'll give them a class of mobile nav dash li. And then in there we'll have an anchor tag, and I'm going to give it a class. And I'm going to give this one, the first one's going to be mobile nav link. And then I'm going to give this one, well, we'll actually hold off on that. I'm going to give it another class because we have to have a little active state to where it's like underlined, but we'll hold off on that for a second. So we have mobile nav link, and then this one just says homes. So we'll say homes. All right, and then we'll copy this down twice, 1, 2. So we have homes, experiences, and services. So we'll say experiences and services. And then this first one's going to need like kind of a class on here to know that it's active, so it's underlined. So we'll put another one on here. We'll put, we'll just say active, and we'll use that later on. So there we go. So far, we can see our mobile sticky menu, some of it here. We just have really our list items showing. So let's go ahead and use our CSS to style this up now. So I'm going to make a separate comment for the mobile sticky menu area so it's easily identifiable where that CSS is in our code. So we'll say mobile sticky menu. And then we'll grab our mobile sticky menu container here, and we'll start styling that up. So we'll put that right there. So we can see what we're building here. Let's make this menu display none on mobile screens. So let's go down to our media, or we're probably going to make another media query now. So I'm going to say, let's copy this media query code. We're going to make another one that says all screens 767 pixels and smaller. And this is where we start getting into like the mobile phone landscape mode. And then, portraits obviously below that too. And we're just going to simply say header, our whole header area, since that's outside of the header. And we're just going to say display none. Okay, so that just gets it out of our way for now. And now let's go back up, and we'll have our code for the mobile sticky menu up here, and then we'll display it none and display it block down here. But let's go ahead and build that now. First thing we're going to do is we're going to give this a background color of the, we're going to make this hashtag FCFCFC. Okay. It's like a very light gray because that's what it looks like on the mobile one for the real website. Next, we're going to say color of everything is going to be like a darker gray. It's going to be hashtag 6A, 6A, 6A. And then we're going to say padding 0.5 rem, which is basically, say, 0.5 rem top and bottom, 0 rem left and right. So 1 rem is 16 pixels. So by me saying 0.5 rem, I'm basically saying 8 pixels top and bottom. Okay, I like to use rems. We're gonna say again, we want it to be like kind of sticky to the top, but this time we're gonna use position fixed. And then to keep it on the top, we're gonna say top 0, left 0, right 0, width 100%. Give it a Z index of 5, so it's always above everything. And then now we're going to do our search bar. So let's go down and we'll select mobile sticky menu search. Select this class right here. We'll use our dot selector and we'll paste this in here. And for this one, we're going to say background color. So we're building this right now, guys. Now we're building the search area. So we just built like the container, the gray background. Now we're building the actual search little div here. So, I mean, we can look at it as we build it. The background color has to be white. So you can type out white or say hashtag FFF. It's the same thing. I'm going to put my box shadow in here for the area. And remember, I got my box shadow by using that online tool. I just don't want to, for time's sake, I don't want to go through doing that again on screen with you. So remember, for box shadow, I just type in box shadow generator, and then I just make my own box shadow in real time with an online tool, and I just copy and paste whatever the code it gives me, right? So that's the one that I came up for this top area. We're going to say padding all around of 1.2 rem. Okay, so now with that padding, we can see like what's going on. We're actually getting our little, it's coming into its own as a little search bar area, or at least it looks like one. We're going to give it a width of 85%. We don't want it going all the way across, so now we can see it a lot better. We're going to say border radius 35 pixels. Make it rounded. We'll say margin 0.5 rem top and bottom, auto left and right, and that auto left and right is going to center it like that. So we're getting there. Next, we're going to do text align center, and then we're going to make sure that everything is directly centered in here. So we're going to say display flex, align item center, justify content center. Now it's dead center. Now it looks a lot better. And then we can't see our magnifying glass because I think I put white on here. Yeah, I did. Remember, we did some inline styles for that other magnifying glass, so let's delete that. And then there we go. Now we can see our magnifying glass. It looks good. Very good. We've got to change this color to like a darker black, though. So let's see if we can get that color for everything. Let's hit inspect. Select our selector tool, hover it. So the color is hashtag 222 for this. Okay. So that's how we'll do that. So see how I use the tools to figure that out, guys? That's how you can figure stuff out when you're cloning stuff as well. Just hover over it. It'll give you the font size and all that stuff. So let's make that change here. Let's say color, hashtag 222. And then the font size was 14 pixels. So we'll make that happen. Save. And look at ours now. Okay, it's looking better. Now let's give some column gaps so that we separate our search bar or our magnifying glass icon from our start your search text. So let's say column gap, and I'm just going to say 10 pixels. So it's basically padding left and right. So there's ours now, and then here's the real one. So it's looking a lot closer. It's looking a lot better. Let's get out of that. Get out of this too. Yeah, there we go. All right, so there's theirs, here's ours. So we can even make this width like 90% probably. Theirs is a little bit longer if we want to be a little more accurate. Okay, that's looking pretty good now. And then let's give this a font weight of 500 because their text looks a little bit bolder. Yeah, that's a lot closer. Maybe let's see what 600 looks like. Now we'll stick with 500. So remember, our fonts aren't going to look identical because ours, we're using that Google font instead of the Airbnb custom font, but that's okay. All right, so let's move on now. We got to do the mobile nav menu to style these 3 links up. So we got a 0 in here. Let's erase that. All right, so let's grab our mobile nav menu. And we're just going to flex them side by side. So we'll say display flex, align items center, justify content center, and we'll say column gap 3 rem. Okay, so there we go. Now they're together here. It's like those. So these look like they're spaced out a little bit more. But as we get on smaller screens, they're pretty close. So maybe we could say column gap 4 rem. Just a little bit more. I don't want to space them out too much because I want it to be like universal. That looks pretty good. What's their font size on here? So let's right click and inspect. 12 pixels. Okay, so let's do this. We'll say mobile nav link, I think we named them. Yep, so we'll say mobile nav link. Let's copy this. Say dot mobile nav link. Font size 12 pixels. There we go. Okay. And the color 6A, 6A, 6A. So let's say color. Hashtag 6A, 6A, 6A. Okay. Let's do our active link where we have the underline right here. So, got to grab that. So right here, active. Let's copy this. Say dot active. And I'll say font weight 600. Text decoration underline. Okay. Yeah, so that's pretty much what happens. It looks like they probably use like another, they might make another div down here to get that looking like that. But we might just keep ours, just for simplicity's sake, guys. I don't want to get too complicated with what we're doing. We might just keep ours like this. And we might just make our color on this a little darker. So color 000, just so it's clear like what the active link is, something like that. We might change this in the future, but I'm just going to keep it like that for now. And then, of course, we have to, let's display this none until we get to the mobile screen. So let's say display none, okay? And then we'll display this block where it's appropriate. So let's go down to our media queries. And we'll say display block. Okay, there it is. So now we should have everything we need for our mobile menu set up for now. So let's do the stretch test. Let's go desktop. So huge widescreen 32-inch screen that I'm on. Keep going down, keep going down. So this is like laptop screens and, you know, regular monitor size screens probably around here. Keep going down. We're going to hit tablet soon. We'll hit medium-sized tablet, okay? And then it changes to that just like the real Airbnb. And then we keep going down. Oh, now we're in mobile. Now we're in like mobile screens, right? And everything is nice and fluid. So it looks pretty good, right? So if we look at the design, we're doing great so far. And honestly, guys, this nav part is like the most time-consuming part. So we're getting through the tough thing first. Once we get through the nav, really, we're just going to be building using a grid to build rows. And once we have one of these rows down, all you have to do is change the images and the text. You don't have and copy paste a lot of stuff. So this whole area, while there's a lot of pictures, is actually very easy to do. You just have to paste different pictures in, update some of the text, and keep going. It's very fast. And then we just have a simple little footer here, which isn't that hard. So we're getting through the tough stuff now. Now what we need to do though is we can't forget. I want to use a little bit of JavaScript, so we'll do this part of the mobile menu. That's if you click this little thing will appear, this little mobile menu, and it has some links on here and whatnot. And then if you keep scrolling, notice how it's still sticky and it closes if you click out of it or if you click a link, of course. So we'll make ours have all that same functionality too. All right, guys, so next up, I want to build our little mobile menu so that when we click this menu appears right here. And then when we click it again, it disappears, or if we click out of it, it disappears. So I want to build that functionality in here where we have this little mobile menu show up, and then we'll make it sticky like the real one so that if we scroll down the page, it'll still stay in the same place. So let's go ahead and we'll start building. We'll build the HTML and CSS first, and then we'll make it dynamic with JavaScript. So I'll start with our HTML, and we'll look at the design as we build it. So I'm going to put this menu, I'll probably put it below because we got our mobile sticky menu up here for the mobile view. And then it ends there. Then we have our normal header. So let's go I'll go below the header, and we'll make this thing below everything, because we're gonna probably use absolute positioning to bring it up here anyway in this area. So we'll bring it out of the flow of the header. So for this one, I'll make a comment and I'll say mobile menu fixed, and then below it, wherever it ends, we'll say mobile menu fixed end. All right. So we'll wrap it in our container class so that it falls within the normal container of like where all of our content's going to be, so that when we do this, it's in line with everything. It's not going off to the side. So we'll use our container class for that. And then we'll make another div with the class of, we'll say dot mobile menu fixed. Oops. And then below that, I'm going to make another div and have mobile menu container. And then we're going to have an unordered list. So we'll do a UL, and that's going to be like the actual links and stuff. So we're going to make some mobile menus with some links. And then we have 2 dividers up here that we have to build with HTML and CSS. Actually 3, 1, 2, 3 dividers. So we'll do that as well. So we'll say UL, and we'll say UL dot mobile dash menu, and then we'll say I'm gonna put a class on my li, so li mobile dash menu dash li, and then I'll also put a second class on here called menu dash flexbox, which is going to be used as like a little utility class. You'll see in a second why we put that. And then I'll have my anchor tag, and we'll have dot mobile dash menu dash link, and we'll get rid of the href there because it's not really going to go anywhere. And just to show you again what we're building, if we can see, we'll see if that stays open. It's going to close. But so we're going to basically build our links. We're going to have question mark, help center, then another link, say become a host. We might make an li or something, be a divider like that. And then we'll just keep going down, refer a host. So we're making all these links. We're making all, this is just basically an unordered list right here. That's what we're making. So what I'm going to do, there's like no way to get a free question mark from Font Awesome, I don't think. We'll double check. So we'll go to Font Awesome, and we'll type in question mark, and the only one they have is this. I guess we could maybe use that and just build a container around it. So let's go, I guess we'll do that. Let's just grab this question mark. Let's make it small though, because it's pretty small here. So probably want to click our palette, our styling tools, and then say SM for small. Maybe XSM or XS for extra small. Let's just see how that is. So let's grab the extra small to start, and we'll paste that in there. And then right next to it, we have to have another anchor tag, and it has to say, I think like become a host or something like that. So we'll give it the mobile menu link class though. So let's copy this. And oh no, it says help center. So we'll say help center. Is it capitalized? Help center. Okay. So there's our little question mark with help center. So that's a start. And then the next li, we'll just make it an li, and it's going to be like a divider. We'll call it divider. So let's go below this li, and we'll say li dot divider. And then we'll go down here, we'll do li, and then again we'll have our mobile menu li, our anchor tag, and then below this one, we're going to have a link with some text and then an image. So on our mobile menu li right here, we'll put it both in the anchor tag. We'll put, let's get rid of the href, and we'll have a class. And we'll say same thing, mobile menu link, and then we'll say menu dash flexbox, because we have to put that little doll image next to the text side by side. So that's why we're building this menu flexbox utility class, so we can flex the icon and help center together, and then this become a host area with this little picture of that person, right? So that's why we're building that. So let's go inside this anchor tag, and we have to make the text. I have to make the text on this side here, and then the image, and that's all in the link. So I'll have a div, and I'll say mobile-menu-text-container. And then I'll use a span, and I'll give it a class of bold-txt for bold text. And in there, we're going to put become a host, because it's bolded right here, so we have to make it bold somehow. So I'm going to use a span, and then below it, there's some lighter text. Below the span, we'll say br line break, and then we'll put the rest of the text. So the text says, it's easy to start hosting and earn extra income. So we'll write that here. We'll say it's easy to start hosting and earn extra income. Okay. So let's see what we have so far. You can see our menu is slowly starting to take shape here with at least our links. So now next to that, we have to put, next to this text, we have to put the image. So let's go down here, and I'll make another div, and I'll say mobile menu image or img container. And then in there, we'll put the image. So we'll say image dot mobile dash menu dash image. And then no, I'm not gonna have any alt text, because this image is pretty much, it's part of the link, but it's really just decoration. But we'll, for our source, we'll go into our image folder, and we want to get the become host trans image. So if we save, there it is. It's that creepy looking doll. And you'll notice, guys, that when I code stuff, that like for this, for example, for this image, I have it in an image container, a div, to basically make it a block element. You could just make the image display block in CSS and get the same effect, but I just like to make stuff. I like to put my inline elements in divs most of the time, so I have more control over them easier. At least it feels like I do in my brain. But, you know, if you see here, like, why is this guy making so many divs? That's just how I code. So I've had some people message me about that in the past, and, you know, it's just how I code, man. It's just my style. So you can do whatever you want if you want to make little tweaks to the code, of course. All right, so we have now the text and the image next to each other. So now we have to keep going down the line, and we're not, obviously they're not side by side yet, but we're going to do that. So let's keep going down the line here. And then we have more links: refer a host, find a co-host, gift cards, login, or sign up. So let's go below this li here. And does that need to be another divider? It does. So let's just copy this divider class with the li. It's going to be another little divider line. And then below that, we have more links. So again, we'll have our li.mobile-menu-li. And we'll have our anchor tag. Delete that. And we'll have our class on here again of mobile-menu-link. And then this one says refer a host. So we'll say refer a host. Is that capitalized? Host is. Okay, so refer a host capitalized. And then we got two more links just like it. So let's copy this down twice. And then the next one is find a co-host. So we'll say find a co-host. And then the next one is gift cards. So we'll say gift cards. And then we have another divider. So we'll put li.divider. And then below that, we have one more link that says login or sign up. Right here, we'll delete this and we'll say login or sign up. All right, so we have all of our links that we need. Now we just got to, of course, add our CSS here to style this up. All right, guys, so let's hop into our CSS here, and we'll make a, see, where do we want to put this? We'll put it down here. We'll say, in our comments, we'll say mobile menu fixed. And we can put parentheses and be like dynamic with JS, so we know it's that pop-up JS menu. You know, it's really obvious what section of the code this is. And then let's grab our, let's start with the, let's grab the mobile menu fixed class, copy that, and we'll put our dot selector and put our curly braces, and we'll start styling this thing up. So the first thing I want to do, guys, before we like move it around and make it sticky, it's supposed to be over here in this area. Let's just create the menu so it at least looks like this first. Flex it, do all the stuff, then we'll move it into position. So we'll start with the our mobile menu container. So let's grab our mobile menu container class. Remember, this wraps around all of the ULs and everything like that. So we'll say dot mobile menu container. And I'm going to add some box shadow in here. Just going to paste it in so we have some box shadow, because you know the regular one, how you can really tell where it is in space is it has box shadow all the way around it. So we'll add that so now you can kind of see it. And then we're going to give this a width, a fixed width of 290 pixels. So it'll shrink it down. And then we're going to round the corners. We're going to say border radius 8 pixels. We're going to have a z-index of 2. And then we're going to say position relative. Background color we're going to have as white or FFF, whichever one you want to put. We'll give everything a line height of 1.5 in here so that there's some vertical spacing between everything like that. Let's give some padding between our LIs. And then we're going to say padding 0.5 rem or 8 pixels top and bottom, 0 rem left and right. Okay. And then let's select our menu flexbox class that we added. And let's actually make that flex stuff side by side. So we'll say dot menu flexbox, and we'll say display flex, align items center. And now we got to fix this image because it's like so big and it's breaking everything right now. So let's go ahead and fix that. So let's grab our mobile menu image, which is down here. Let's see. Right here. It's mobile menu image class. And let's fix this here with a width. We'll say width of 50 pixels. There we go. So that looks a lot better already. And then our question mark, our help center together. So it's starting to take shape here. So let's go and grab onto this mobile menu fixed class now, because that'll help us move this thing over to where it needs to be. So we'll put it up here on the top. We'll say mobile menu fixed. And we're going to say position fixed. Inset is going to be 0. We'll say align items flex start. Justify content will be flex end. So let's save. So now it's behind this for now, but we'll fix that. And this is actually going to be, we forgot to put display. It's going to be display flex. We're going to put it to none though. So now we can say that with display flex, align item flex start, so that'll align everything to the far left for now. And then justify content flex end is what brings it from this corner to this corner, which is where it needs to be on the final, like design of it. So we're getting there. And now let's give this some padding all the way around. We'll say padding 80 pixels top, 16 pixels to the right, and 16 pixels to the bottom and left, so that everything isn't like sucked up to the corner. And then let's make sure that this sits on top of this. So let's just give it like a crazy z-index. We'll say z-index 1000. Now it's on top like it's supposed to. So now it's basically almost perfectly positioned where it's supposed to be. Okay. And then we'll say background transparent. And let's just leave that for now. We're going to do, like I said, we'll display this none and everything with JavaScript, but we'll just leave this for now. So next, let's style up our mobile menu LIs here so that they look like they're supposed to. So let's grab our, let's see, mobile menu li class. And we'll say, we'll put that right here. Or actually, technically, we could put it up here. And we'll say padding, 10 pixels, top and bottom, 0 pixels left and right. Space them out a little bit more. And now let's do our dividers so that we can divide everything. These little divider things here, let's create those. So I believe we just put a class of divider on those, on our LIs. We added like extra LIs with the divider class. So let's copy that. And we'll just say dot divider. And we'll say background color, hashtag EB. And then we'll give them a width of 90% and a height of just 1 pixel. Boom. So now we have dividers. See how those just appeared right there? And then let's center these with margin auto. So we'll say margin 8 pixels top and bottom, auto left and right. Boom. And now they look just like the normal little divider areas. So that's pretty cool. We're getting there. Let's grab, what else can we do next? Our bold text area for the become a host. Let's style that up, the bold TXT span. So right here, select that. And let's put that right here. And for that, we're just going to say font weight 500. There we go. Now become a host is bold like it's supposed to be. Let's grab our mobile menu link class and style up our links. So right here, all the anchor tags in here. It's all of our mobile menu links. Got to make the font size a little bit smaller. So let's put this below the LI. So dot mobile menu link. Font size 14 pixels. There we go. And then on our mobile menu link, let's give our, we're going to give our link some padding on the sides here so they're not up against the corner. So below our font size, we'll say padding 0 rem top and bottom, 0.7 rem left and right. And there we go. Now we got that nice little cushion there. And now our question mark is supposed to have a little circle around it next to help center. So we can try to, let's see, let's grab that. Got here FA question. So maybe around this we can wrap it in a circle div. Yeah, put the closing div here, and then let's put, we'll just do a class of circle. So let's just say dot circle. And we can just make a circle with HTML and CSS. So we'll say border 2 pixels, solid, hashtag 333 for the color. So there we go. We'll say border radius 50%. Now it's a circle. And now we got to give it a equal height and width to make it a perfect circle. So we'll say width 23 pixels, height 23 pixels. And now we got to make that centered in there. So we got to say, we'll use the display flex trick. So we'll say display flex, align item center, and justify content center. And then we could probably even make this like 20 by 20, a little bit smaller. So let's go 22. Okay. And then what else? So I think we need to add, let's see, this text. There is a hover state here to where if we hover over this, like we get a gray box that goes in between each one of these, so we can add that. So let's grab, let's see, do we have our mobile menu LIs? So our mobile menu LI right here, let's add a transition. We'll just say transition all, and we'll say 0.1 second ease in. And then let's add our hover pseudo selector. So we'll say hover, hover. And then what we'll do is we're going to add a background color. We'll say background color, hashtag, and we'll do like a light gray, F7. And we'll say width 100% to make sure that goes all the way across. So now if we hover over them, we should get that like little, there we go. Now we're getting that gray hover effect, just like the normal one. So that's all we're going to do for like the HTML and CSS of this. Next up, what we'll do is we'll add some JavaScript to make this dynamic to where we can click to open it. We'll make it display none by default. And then we'll also add some code to make it sticky so it stays in this location. If somebody opens it and scrolls down the page, it'll still stay on there. All right, guys, so we have our little mobile menu here. Now we're going to make this dynamic with JavaScript so that we can open and close it just like the real Airbnb. And when it goes up and down, it'll be sticky. So what we'll do here is we just have to add a few pieces of CSS before we get into the JavaScript. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my mobile menu fixed area. And I'm going to do a few things. I'm going to say pointer events, and I'm going to change that to none so that we can hover over our stuff again and have it work, because that was actually disabled for a little bit. So pointer events none, and then I'm going to by default have this display and set that to none, okay, because we don't want it to display until JavaScript activates it. And then I'll just get rid of display flex here altogether, and then I'm going to go right below and then I'll go below our mobile menu container, and I'm going to make a new class. I'll call it, grab mobile menu fixed. Or actually, we'll go right below mobile menu fixed. So let's just copy that, paste it here. And we're going to add a new class that we're going to add dynamically with JavaScript called we're going to say .isOpen. So basically, isOpen is our new class. And when isOpen gets added to an element with JavaScript, we're going to display it. We're going to say display flex, and then we're going to say pointer events, and we're going to set that to auto. Okay, so that's all the CSS we need to add. So now we can get into our JavaScript. So let's open up our app.js. And again, this isn't like a JavaScript lesson. This is just, a little tutorial for you guys. I'll explain some of the JavaScript, but we're not going to get super in depth here. So first thing that we're going to do is select our elements that we need in the DOM. The DOM is just basically the web page. It's called the document object model, and that's how JavaScript views the web page, is the document object model. So when I say DOM, that's what I'm referring to. So let's make a comment here, a little single line comment. I'm going to say DOM elements, because this is where we're going to select them. And now we're going to save all of our elements into things called variables. So we're going to use the keyword const. Const means constant. It means that once we set this variable, the value cannot be changed. And the first thing I'm going to select is our little bars over here. So we'll say const bars equals document dot query selector. And query selector in JavaScript means select an element by its class name. So we're going to say document.querySelector parentheses quotes, and we're going to use our dot selector because it's going to be a class. And we're selecting the bars, so we're going to go select, I believe it's FA bars. Let's go up here to our nav area and confirm that. Or actually, we'll go in our HTML and confirm that. So FA bars, and it's this link right here, FA bars. So yeah, that's what it is. So let's copy FA bars, and we're going to paste that in, and that basically will have us select it. Just like we select elements with CSS, this is how we select them with JavaScript. So we're going to grab onto the bars. Next, we're going to grab onto our mobile menu fix. So let's just say const, and we can say mobile menu fixed. And notice how I'm capitalizing the first new word in the phrase, the first new letter, the M and the F here. That's called camel case. That's very common when you're naming variables and programming in JavaScript. So that's going to equal document dot query selector again, because we're selecting the class. And then we're going to select our mobile menu fix. So let's go to style.css. And we're going to grab right here, mobile menu fixed. So let's copy this class name just to make sure we don't get a typo. Paste that in there. And then last, we're going to select our actual menu with the mobile menu container. So we're going to say const menu equals document dot query selector again. And we'll do our parentheses, our quotes, our class selector, and we need to grab the mobile menu container. So grab that here, and we'll paste that in. All right, so that's the three elements. So we basically just saved our bars and like the menu itself with those variables. So we're selecting stuff very similar to how we select stuff with CSS to style it. And then down here, we're going to actually start our programming. And the first thing I'm going to do is something called an if-else statement. An if-else statement is kind of just how it sounds, and it's used in pretty much every programming language. It's just how we make decisions in code. If this happens, then do this, basically, okay? All programming and all computers in the background are zeros and ones. 0 is yes, 1 is no. So that's all they know is yes, no. That's all computers know. Even though they can do a lot of cool stuff, at the core of programming, it's just if this, do this. Yes, no, okay? So we're going to say if, and I'm going to use the exclamation, and it's going to, that basically means not. So if not true. So we're going to say if bars doesn't exist, our variable, and then we're going to use 2 pipes, that means or. And then we're going to say if mobile menu fix doesn't exist, or if our menu doesn't exist. So if any of the variables we just selected for some reason are not accessible by JavaScript, they got deleted or they don't exist, then we're just going to leave it blank, which means do nothing. We're going to say elements not found, don't run the script. Okay? So stop here. Don't run anything under this. Okay? That's all that means. Or we're going to say else, do the following. Now we're going to wrap all the rest of our code in this else statement. So this bottom curly brace is going to stay all the way down. Everything is going to be nested in here. So we're going to first make a function. A function is just a reusable block of code that we can use whenever we need it. So we're basically setting up like just little pieces of code that we're going to use multiple times. So we're going to say function, open menu, and then we have curly braces. So that's what functions look like. They have the keyword function, the function name, you name it whatever you want. Again, we used camel case. We capitalized the M in menu. Empty parentheses. You can put stuff in there, but we don't need to for this. And then just curly braces like everything else. And then we're going to say mobile menu fixed dot class list dot add. And we're going to add that class that we created just is open. We don't need to put the dot in there because we're using class list.add. It knows that we're talking about a class. So remember, we made the class list is open right here. So if it's open, remember, it's going to show. So that's our little block of code to show the menu. So we're going to reuse that later because it's in a function. So we're just writing that now. So now we're going to do close menu. So we'll say function, close menu, and empty parentheses and curly braces. And then same thing, we're going to say mobile menu fixed dot class list, and this time instead of add, we're going to say remove, take away the class. And same thing, we're going to take away, this time not add it, is open to close the menu though. So that'll close the menu for us in the future. And now we need to make some decisions here to where our program or our JavaScript can decide if the menu is open to hide it, and if it's hidden, open it. And that functionality, when you open, it's kind of like an on-off switch, open, close, like here. This functionality, open, close, on, off, open, close, it's called toggling. Toggle. You'll hear that a lot in programming. It's called toggle behavior. So we'll say function, toggle, menu, and then we're going to say if mobile menu fixed dot class list dot contain. So if there's a class on here, if the class is on there, is open. If it's already existing on there, then we know the menu's open. Then do the following. We're going to close the menu. Because if it's open, obviously the person wants it closed. We want the opposite. And then we're going to say else, open the menu, because it obviously must be closed otherwise. So we'll say open menu. Okay, so there's our decision-making part. And now we have to actually attach this behavior to like a mouse click, so that we actually know what's going on. So let's go below here. And now, so go make sure you go down so you have one curly brace still, and then go below this last one. So we're in the middle. There's just one curly brace here now. That's how yours should look. So don't get confused. Don't mess up. And now we're gonna toggle the bars on the click. So we'll say toggle menu on click. So we're gonna say menu dot add event listener, listen for an event, listen for something to happen on the page. And that event that we're going to listen for is a click. So we're going to put parentheses, quotes, and we're looking for a click when the user clicks the button. Then we're going to run another function, a new one, and we're going to put an E in between our parentheses this time. and then we're going to open up our curly braces, and that E allows us to select something called the document object. We're not going to get too far into that, but what that basically does is it allows us to use some extra built-in functionality with JavaScript. So I'm going to say E dot, I'm going to say stop propagation is what's going to go here. And then we're also below here going to call toggle menu so that it fires off our function here to decide if the menu is opened or closed. And remember, toggle menu just calls our other two functions that add the class and remove it to actually show it and make it disappear. So we'll say toggle menu, call that. And that's how you call a function. You activate it by putting the function name and then curly braces. That's how you activate a function. And you can call it wherever you want in your code. That's why functions are so usable, because now we can take all the logic we made up here and just plug it in down here to make stuff work, and this time on a click. Okay? So that's the first thing we're going to do. The next thing we're going to do is put functionality in so that the menu closes when we click out of it. So, or when we click, first we'll do when we click a link. So when we click a link, just like real life, we want this to close, and then in real life it'll go to the link. But since we're not going to have multiple pages here, ours is just going to close on that behavior. So we'll go down here, we'll put another comment, and this block of code below here is going to say close when a link inside the menu is clicked. And then we're going to do very similar stuff. We're going to say, oh, and my bad, up here, this is actually supposed to say bars, not menu. So bars.add event listener. And then that should actually make our thing work, because if we click the bars now, boom, it opens. Now it's not going to close or toggle because we haven't finished our code yet, but at least it opens. So there's the first part done. So let's refresh so it goes away. All right, so close when a link inside the menu is clicked. So we're going to say menu.add event listener. And again, we're going to listen for that click event. It's called an event when a user does something. So we'll say click. And then same thing, we're going to say function, parentheses, E, our curly braces. And now we're going to say, we're going to make another variable. We're going to say const link for our menu link. And that's going to equal e.target.closest and parentheses. And we're going to grab one of our links for the mobile menu. I think they're just mobile menu link. It's our fixed menu. We want right here. So it is, yeah, mobile menu link. So let's copy that. We're going to put that in here. Say dot mobile menu link. So whatever link we click, now link, basically what this variable code said is save all the links that you see in that mobile menu with the class of mobile nav link, which is all of them. So basically that's what that means. And then we're just going to run a simple if statement again. We're going to say if, and then we're going to say link, if there's a link or if they click the link, basically, close the menu. See that function again? Now we're just reusing it again. Close menu. Now we're using it down here again. So now we should be able to open. If we click any of these links, it should close. So you have an issue. Let's go to our console. Is there anything firing off? Any errors? Oh, this is supposed to be, sorry, a mobile menu link, not nav link. Try this again. Open. If we click a link, boom. Okay, so that functionality is working now. Okay, so now we want to make it so that if we click outside of here or if we click the bars, it'll also disappear. So it's not disappearing now and not disappearing now. It'll disappear now. So we want to fix that. So our last functionality here, let's go down. We'll make one more comment. This is our last piece of JavaScript. We're going to say close when clicking outside the menu. And then in parentheses, we'll say or anywhere in the document. And remember, document just means basically the whole web page. Okay, so we know exactly what this code does. So we'll go down here and we're going to grab, instead of making something, putting it in a variable, first we're just going to select the whole document. And that's just going to be document, and we're going to add an event listener onto our whole web page. And again, it's going to be a click because we're going to listen for a click on anywhere in the document. Then again, we're going to say function, E, parentheses, and we're going to say, whoops, hang on, we got a little typo here. This needs to be a comma, not a period. All right, so now we're going to say, we're going to make a variable. We're going to say const, and we're going to call this variable clicked inside menu. And that's going to equal menu dot contains, and then parentheses, and we're going to see if it has the e.target in it, which is basically the whole document. Like, did they click somewhere in the whole document, yes or no? And then we're going to say another one. We're going to say const, another variable, and we're going to say clicked bars, because we also want to be able to click on the bars to close the menu, and that's going to equal bars dot contains, and same thing, e dot target. So again, did we click anywhere in the document, or did we click the bars? Basically, it's what those variables are saving. And then we're going to use an if statement so that we can actually make that decision. We're going to say if we didn't, we're going to use the not operator, and we're going to say clicked inside menu. So if clicked inside menu, and if we didn't click the bars, so if we didn't click inside the menu, we didn't click the bars, still close the menu, because that means that we're still clicking somewhere in the document. So we're going to say run close menu. So I know, kind of weird how we have to write that stuff. It's not exactly plain English, but this is just how computers understand stuff. And again, if you guys want to learn the full JavaScript thing and build tons of projects with me, check out the complete web developer course, link in the description. If all this is looking like Chinese to you and you're like, what the hell? I will teach you everything step by step from step one, and then all of this will eventually make total sense to you, and you'll be good to go. So let's see if our functionality worked here. Click the bars open, click the bars close, so that's working. Click a link close. What if we click anywhere? Closes it. Perfect. Okay, very good. All right, so, and then I gave our body some height of 2000 pixels, so we have this scroll bar here. So now we can test. We're testing out our main nav menu is working well, because it's supposed to be sticky. See, when I scroll down, the main nav menu still stays up here, so that's good news. If we open up our menu and scroll down, same thing, it'll stay open. Okay, so that's working as well. So that's all for our little mobile menu, man. That's probably the last biggest pain in the butt here as far as like complexity goes. All right, guys, so the last thing that we're going to do regarding the navigation on the website is when we go down to mobile view, we got this bottom menu here, and they use some animations to make it appear and disappear. We're just going to have it stay static, and this is what it looks like. It's just a mobile bottom menu with Explorer, Wishlist, Login, and some icons, and it stays stuck to the bottom, just like everything else here just kind of stays there. So we'll go ahead and we'll build that now, and I'm going to build it. We're going to build it in our HTML, and we'll build it below the code for our mobile menu over here. So we got mobile menu fixed. So let's go below here, and we'll build like our bottom menu. And again, this is only going to show for like mobile phones. So it'll be display none. You won't see it until you're on a mobile phone. But we got to make it here. So let's get out of my developer tools. And then I'm going to make a div. And I'm going to call it mobile bottom menu container. Whoops, this has to be a dash. All right, so we got a div with the class of mobile bottom menu container. And then I'm going to make an unordered list with a class of mobile bottom menu. And then in there, it's going to have an li, and our li are going to have a class of mobile bottom menu li. And then they're going to have links, and the link is going to have a class of mobile bottom menu link. Okay. And I know a lot of classes, a lot of long class names, but this, again, just keeps your stuff really organized and really obvious to what everything does. If you have to style anything or grab it, it's just very easy to do so. So that's why I always code like that. So now what it's going to be, let's just go right click and inspect and go to a mobile phone view so that we can see our mobile bottom menu. So there it is. It's going to have Explorer, wish list, and login that just go across the bottom here. And for phones, it's going to be on top like that. Let's do this here. So our first link is going to have a magnifying glass on top. So let's go grab another one of those. Let's go to Font Awesome, and we'll search for Magnifying glass again. The magnifying glass will grab this, and I'm going to make this, I'm going to go to the palette, the styling tools palette, and then I'm going to click large. I want this to be large because they're pretty big on the mobile bottom menu. They're bigger. So we'll paste that in. So first we're going to have a magnifying glass, and then the text is going to say explore. So let's go below here. And I'll just put it in another like paragraph, and I'll give it a class of bottom menu P, and we'll say explore. Okay. And now let's just copy this link down, or this li down 2 more times. The next one is going to be a heart that says wish lists. So let's make this text say wish lists. And just so you can see what we're building here, it's all right here right now. And then we need a heart. So let's see if Font Awesome will give us the heart that we need. It's just like an open heart or a light heart design. And so we have this one. Do they have? They do. Oh no, it looks like it's going to be pro. So we're just going to grab the one that's filled in the solid heart because it's free, and we're not going to pay for. I mean, if you want to sign up and pay, you can, but I'm just going to grab the free one, make it large, and I'll put the heart right here. And then last, there's like a login symbol, so we'll grab whatever we can here. So that's like a user icon for logging in. So probably going to have to grab something different again. Let's say user, unless they have that one for free. So the one they have, user bounty hunter, that's cool. They have a lot of cool icons, honestly. So it looks like to get the one that they have with like the circle background around it and all that, so this fancy looking one, we ain't getting that for free. So let's just grab this user here. Let's grab that one, and I'll make it large LG. Okay, good enough. And then we'll make this small, and I'll put this here. The user. Okay. So I have user, and then that text should say log in. So we'll say log in. All right, so we have our HTML that we need. So let's make some comments. We'll say mobile bottom menu fixed, or we're going to say start. We'll just say start. Copy the comment just to make it obvious where all this stuff starts because it gets confusing, right? We'll say mobile bottom menu end. And I promise this is the last of the navigation stuff we have to do. So let's move this back over here. And now we'll go ahead and style it up. So let's go in our CSS and we'll copy this comment here all the way to the bottom. So below mobile sticky menu, below our dynamic JavaScript menu, we're going to paste our comment. And we'll say this is all the code for mobile bottom menu. All right, so let's get started here. Let's select our mobile bottom menu container. Grab that. Say dot mobile bottom menu container. And we're going to say position fixed because we're going to fix it to the bottom. So we'll say fixed. We're going to say left 0, right 0, bottom 0. So left 0, right 0 centers it, and then bottom 0 means stay on the bottom of the page. So now we can see our stuff just move to the bottom. And then we'll say z index of, we'll just put 40 here so we make sure it stays on top of everything as we scroll up and down. And then we're going to say background color, and that's going to be, looks like it's just white with maybe a little divider here. Let's see. Is there any color in here that we can see? Yeah, it looks like it's just white with a horizontal line divider, so we'll take care of that. So we'll just say FFF for the background color, just put it white. And then we'll say border top. We'll say 1 pixel solid. And we'll say hashtag for the color EB. Save. And now we have that little line that divides it. So just like the real design. So we're getting there. And then we'll give it some padding. We'll say padding, 0.5 rem top and bottom, 0 rem left and right. Okay. And now let's go select our mobile bottom menu class for the menu itself. Say dot mobile bottom menu. And we're going to say display, flex, align item center, justify content center. Okay, so now they're centered. And then we'll say column gap between them is going to be 2 rem, space them out. And then we'll say text align center to center the icons and the text. And then I'm going to give this a max width of 640 pixels. Okay, so it's going to uncenter it, but it'll look fine on mobile screens, so just bear with me. So like if just to show you, if we make the screen smaller, now it looks okay, right? On mobile phones, nice and centered. So our mobile bottom menu links, if we look at the design, they're kind of like a light grayish. So we'll say, and same thing with the icons themselves. So let's say, go to our HTML, say mobile bottom menu link. So say dot mobile bottom menu link, whoops. And we'll say color, and that's going to be hashtag 6A6A6A. Save. And now our stuff is that kind of grayish color. And then notice that whatever's active has that like purple text or purple pinkish text. So we're going to do that with ours. So we're going to go to our HTML, and we have to put like an active class on here on our first link. So we'll say on the first link, we'll make a class and call it active-bottom. And then we'll go back to our CSS. Well, let's copy active bottom. Go to our CSS, and then we'll say dot active bottom. And then we'll also say comma. We're going to select multiple things. That, and then all the icon with it as well. Say dot active bottom again. And the icon in there. So we'll do the eye. Okay. And then we're going to give it a color, which is like that pinkish purplish Airbnb signature color. We'll say color. And it's going to be this FF385C color. So let's just say if we go here and save, now these are both that color. Okay. The last thing we can do is we can say mobile bottom menu link and so say dot mobile bottom menu link and we can say padding top 5 pixels. Or sorry, padding bottom. Just to push it down a little bit. All right, so let's go see what we got here if we go mobile. Okay. So let's actually do this. Let's do mobile bottom menu container. So by default, we're going to say display none here. And then we'll copy this. And we'll go down. And we'll say 767 and lower. Go here and we'll say simply display block. So now from bigger screens, it's not there. Boom, now it's there on the mobile screens. And then we can look at it, can right click inspect. Okay, so there it is. And look at that, as we scroll, it's always staying on the bottom, so that's good. It's exactly what we want. Okay. Looking good. Just go through a few devices here, but it's pretty much good to go. If we have to tweak anything later, we will. Let's see, iPhone 14. It's looking good, guys. So, again, our icons had to be a little bit different, but, we're doing all this for free, right? All right, so that's it for that menu, guys. Really quick, guys. Actually, we're going to just take the max width off of this. That's not necessary because there's a couple of screens where if we leave it there, it's going to make our mobile bottom menu not look good. It's going to make it look off-center. So just remove it, and then it'll be centered on all screens. There's like 1 or 2 phones. I forget. Maybe it's like the 678. Yeah, it was a 678 iPhone screen that goes 667 in landscape, and then it would have uncentered it. So just take away that max width, and it should look good everywhere without that. Yeah, so it looks better now. So just a quick little fix I wanted to pop in there and update you with that. All right, guys. So finally, we get to the main content of the website. We get to actually do the, I like to call these destination. This is like the destinations section, this whole area. And then each card, I'm going to call a destination card. So not too much to do. We have to add the image. We have to add a little title, the price, how many stars, and then we're going to overlay a heart and this guest favorite area on each image. Well, I'll show you how to do that. And then each section has a little title from like what we're viewing, right? So the cool part about this is we'll do the first section, and then we're just going to use a bunch of copy paste, and then off screen I'll let you fill in all your images yourself and change the text to whatever you want. You don't need to watch me do that for like a half an hour or 20 minutes straight. It's just unnecessary. So we'll get the first section done. I'll show you exactly how to do it. We'll do all the CSS, and then from there all you have to do is copy paste. It's beautiful. And it's really easy to make mobile too. And then after that we just have to do this footer area. So not too much more to do. It looks like there's a lot more to do, but now we're to like the easy parts. So let's get started here. So let's go to our HTML. Let's close all this for now. And we're going to go down. And we're going to make below our mobile bottom menu end, I'll make a main tag for the main content. And then we can make we're going to put all this in the container class. And now we're going to make our section. We're going to use the section semantic tag, and this whole section, as I said, we're give it a class of destinations. Okay, and within here, we're going to have each row is going to have its own div. So this is going to be, actually, I'll make a div with the ID of row 1. The row number is going to have the ID to it, and then next to it we'll put a class, and the class is going to be destinations -row. Okay, so remember in this particular design I'm gonna have like 9, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I think there's 10 now, but when I first built this there was only 9 rows, so I'm just gonna do my original 9. I'm not gonna do 10. I mean, 9, 10, that's a lot of stuff regardless. So the first thing that we'll do in our destinations row is do our little title here. So the first one for me, and it still is to this day, they haven't changed the page. The first thing I see is homes in San Diego. So I'm going to say H2, and I'm going to give it a class of destinations-heading. And then I'm going to say popular homes in San Diego. Okay, so I'll save. This is what we have so far. And now you can either do this. I think I was just kind of like lazy on my design, and instead of like going and finding this is like a chevron to the right icon, I just made it like a greater than symbol. I just hit shift greater than symbol on my keyboard. I mean, whatever, same thing really, but do what you want to do. If you want to go to Font Awesome and grab the chevron right icon and just put it right there, you totally can. It's up to you. And then below that title is like the actual cards themselves, so we'll start making those. So let's go below our H2, and we're going to have a div with the class of destinations-grid-container. This is where we're going to set up grid on everything. And then in our destinations grid container, we're going to have our cards. So we'll say dot destination-card. And then in there, we're going to have an image, the text, and these overlays. So first I'll do a div, and I'll say destination-image-container. And again, we really only have to do this once. And we're copying all the rest of the cards, all the rest of the rows is all getting copy-pasted. So we only really have to make one card. So .destination-image-container. In there, we'll have an image, and we'll give it the class of destination-img. And then our first one for me, I'm going to say image, row 1 images, and I want guest suite San Diego.avif. So I'll save. And then here it is. It's going to be really big, but we'll fix all that. And then below it, we're going to have, so right below the, below the image, but within the image container. So this is our image container. This is our image. So go right below the image. We're going to put our guest favorite text and our heart icon in that container so that we can overlay it on the image. So we'll say a paragraph with the class of guest dash favorite, so we know exactly what it's for. And then the text, of course, is going to say guest favorite. Okay. And then we need a heart icon, so let's go below the paragraph. And we need our heart. Let's see, I think we used it right up here, right? FALG heart. Just copy it from there. Paste it in here. Save. Okay. So now we have our heart and our guest favorite, so that's good. And then now let's go below our destination image container, so below this div. And below our image now we can see we're going to have like our heading text and this lighter text below it. So let's make a div. We'll call it destination-text-container. And I'm going to make our little headings for here H4. So I'll say H4, give it the class of destination-text-header. And then in there for our first one, I'm going to put guest suite in San Diego. That's what it was originally. Now it says, yeah, it still says a guest suite in Ocean Beach, so whatever. Now it says Ocean Beach instead of San Diego, but it's still like the same place. So I guess they just changed the title on whoever posted this listing changed their title since then. So whatever it says for you guys, if you're building how your view looks, just put whatever yours says at the time with that image, okay? And if you're just copying me and you downloaded my images from GitHub and you're just copying me, that's cool too. All right, so we got, let's see, guest suite in San Diego. Now below this H4, we're going to have our paragraph. We're going to give it a class of destination-p. And then it's going to give like the little description here. So what we'll say here is what it says on mine. We'll say $183 for 2 nights, which is pretty reasonable, actually. That's not bad. And then you'll notice there's a very small little bullet point here. You can barely see it, but there is a little bullet point. So we're going to use the HTML entity code for a bullet point, which is the and symbol, bool, and semicolon. Okay, so if we save and then we check our design, that gives us a little bullet point there. It's pretty cool, huh? And then after that, it has like the stars. How many stars does this place have rating wise? So we'll say and bool. And then we got to get a star. So let's go to Font Awesome, get a font star. So let's go up here, say star. That's the star we want. We'll go to we'll make it extra small, XS, save. And we'll just put it right after the bullet point. And we'll go here, and there's our little star. And let's actually make it, instead of XS, let's make it 2XS, so as small as possible. It's a little big. So we'll say boom, 2XS. Okay, 183 bullet point for 2 nights. And that's really all there is to it for our first little card here, guys. So now what we have to do is copy this down. So on desktop, at least on super wide screens, and even on laptops, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wide. So I'm going to make 7 wide in here. So 7 destination cards. So we just did our first one. This is our first card from there to there. And I'm just going to copy down 6 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Save. Okay? So we're going to have all kinds of mess here, but we'll fix it. And now, so we have this is just like our first row of 7. So what we can do is we'll style this up now. Let's just style the first row and then we'll copy paste everything. So let's do this. Let's get this out of the way. And I'll just have it here so you can see what's going on. So let's copy one of these comments here. And let's go down here above our media queries and we'll put in destination cards or destinations, whatever you want to put. So first thing, we'll just work our way down like we always do. So let's go up to our main destinations little section start here. It should be like up here. Destinations. Let's select our first class and we'll do our dot selector, paste it down here. And we'll say margin, and we'll say 4 rem top, 0 rem right. We'll say 4 rem top and bottom, 0 rem left and right. Okay, just to give it some padding everywhere, or some margins on the top and bottom. So now if we scroll down to the bottom, got some margins. Next we'll say, we have destinations row, so we're gonna want some space in between each row. So we'll say dot destinations row, and that's gonna say margin 2 rem top and bottom, 0 rem left and right, so that there's some vertical spacing. And then we're gonna grab our destinations. Let's see what's next. Destinations grid container. Let's grab that. Paste that here. Dot destination grid container. See, do we want to make that plural? We might as well. Destinations grid container. Okay. And then we're going to say for this, we'll say margin top 1 rem. And now we're going to display it as a grid. And then we're going to say grid template columns. And on desktop, remember we have 7 across. So we're going to say repeat, say 7, comma 1FR. So 7 1FR means I want 7 boxes going across, and I want them to all take up an equal amount of space. And then we'll say column gap 1 rem left and right, so that they're spaced out left and right. So we'll save. Well, that's not good. Oh, we've got to save our HTML. Save here. And now you can't tell. Well, you can kind of tell. We have the scroll bar. Now we have 7 of these going across. So obviously we still have to style up each individual card because you can't see them all, but we're getting there. So let's continue on. Let's go down to select each destination card. And we spelled that wrong. Destination card. There we go. I gotta fix it everywhere. I'm just gonna go down and make this all say destination card. If you're smarter than me, which you probably are, and you didn't have a typo, you can skip these next couple of seconds. And I know there's a way to do this in VS Code all at once, but I'm too lazy to look it up. Okay, I think that's it, right? Cool. Awesome. So we have save. We'll say dot destination card. And all we're going to add to the cards itself is min width of 0. And that's going to help us with our sizing here in just a second. Makes them smaller, and now it makes them, each image will kind of stretch and contract and fill up space better. So I know it still looks like crap, but we're getting there. We're going to say, what's next? Our destination image container. Let's grab that. All right, so destination image container, we're going to make this position relative, and we're going to say overflow. Whoops. Go down here. We're going to say overflow hidden, because remember, we have to make it relative because we're going to be positioning our heart and guest favorite in here. And now let's grab our destination image itself, that class, because that's really what's messing up everything right now. Is they need to be put a width on there. So we'll go down here, we'll say dot destination image, and we'll say width 100%, and that's already going to make them smaller because now they're going 7 across like they should. They're taking up all the width that they possibly can. So now we're looking a lot better. So we'll say width 100%, height is going to be 200 pixels. Okay. We're going to say object fit cover so that we see the whole image. And then we're going to give these a border radius of 20 pixels so that they have some rounded sides, just like the real cards on Airbnb. Okay. And this looks kind of crazy because we're not going to be 7 across at this screen size. So here's what it looks like now, a lot better, right? Now it actually kind of looks like the Airbnb cards a little bit. Ours are going to be bigger because we're not doing this scroll nonsense. We're not doing that, right? We're just going to have 7 static cards going across. So ours is going to look a little bit different, but still pretty good. All right, so now we're going to position our guest favorite and our heart inside of our images. So let's grab guest favorite class first, which is just text that says guest favorite. We're going to style that up. So say dot guest favorite. Say first things first, we want this to be position absolute. I'm going to say top, 10 pixels from the top, 10 pixels from the left, save. And now it's kind of going to put it up in that top corner. So, and again, this isn't, the real representation is like this right now. Okay. So it's off where it should be. I'm just, we gotta have you see the code and see what's going on, right? So just bear with me. We're going to give it a background color of white. Okay. Going to say padding, 5 pixels top and bottom, 10 pixels left and right. Give it a border radius of 35 pixels because it's kind of rounded. As you can see, we're trying to make this. Okay. See how it's in like a rounded box. I'm going to say font size, 11 pixels, so pretty small. There we go. Now it's looking like it should. And then we're going to say font weight, 600. And then we're going to say opacity, 0.8. And z-index of 2 to make sure it's always on top of the card. So with that opacity, now that kind of gave it, even though we have white background, now it's kind of see-through, just like the real one. That's how you do that opacity, okay? And now we can basically copy all this down because a lot of it's going to be very similar. And we're going to style the heart, which is .fa-heart. This is going to be top 15 pixels. And instead of left, this is going to be right since it's on the other side. So there we go. And let's see what we have here. It's getting there. Okay. Just got to get rid of that. Our heart and everything doesn't have a background color or padding or border radius behind it. Get rid of all those things. We're going to give the heart an opacity of 0.6, so it's pretty see-through, just like that. Let's see what it looks like. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Let's see. So we're not going to have the white outline on our hearts. We're just going to have the opacity. And then to make them look a little better, I'm just going to give them padding of 6 pixels all the way around. So let's go ahead and save that. And then our hearts are looking on the small side. So I'm going to make these hearts, we can control that with font size. I'm going to make them up to 18 pixels. That looks a little bit better. We don't want the hearts super small. Yeah. So we'll go with 18. We could probably even make them a little bit bigger, but we'll stay with 18. Let's continue on here. The next up, we have to grab our destination text container, style that up. Say .destination text container, and we're going to say margin top 10 pixels, padding left 10 pixels because the text on these is like a little bit to the left. If you can see here, it's like pushed over a little bit. So let's save that. There we go. And again, this is the true view that we're styling, so that looking a lot better. Let's grab our destination text headers here. Destination text header. And we'll say font size, 12 pixels. Font weight, font weight, 600. So smaller but bolder. And then we'll say margin bottom. Nothing major, just like 3 pixels. Just a little bit of space. Just like that, it's pretty close. And now we got to select our destination P. Let's grab this. Say .destination P. And for that, we're going to say font size, 11 pixels. And then the color, which is like a lighter gray, is going to be the 6A, 6A, 6A. All right, so see how that's coming together now? A lot better. Okay, looking good. Maybe we make the text a little bigger on that. Maybe we go up to 12. And then this one up to 13. Let's see. Just little tweaks here and there. So there's that. Here's that. Pretty good. Okay. And now what we need to do for this is pretty much what our rows are going to look like, guys. Now we're just changing images and text for each picture, right? So that wasn't too hard, but to make these mobile, I'm going to add a few more classes to our some of our destination cards. So What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my last destination card in row 1, and let's make this big so you can see exactly what I'm doing here. So here's our last destination card, and we're going to add little classes here that are going to help make this mobile responsive in a second. So for this, we're going to say large, just add a class of large tablet. We're going to be using these classes to make stuff disappear on certain screen sizes. So large tablet, which will be your 7th card. The next card up, which is right here, is going to have a class of medium dash tablet. And the next card up from there, right here, is going to also have medium tablet, so you can just copy and paste that. And then your next one up is going to have a class of mobile dash phone. And then same thing, you can copy this. Your next one up is also going to have the mobile phone class. And then that should leave your 2 cards for the mobile view. We're just going to have 2 across. So 1 destination card here without mobile phone, and then 1 destination card here. So beautiful. That's exactly what you need to do. So we're not going to do anything else yet. Just have those classes on each one of those cards. I have, 9? So I have to do 8 more. I have to copy down 8 of the rows here. So destination row 1. So it starts here. This is the fun part. Let's do this on a big screen. Let's take destination row 1, and let's just click into it, see where it stops. So it's right here. So let's go all the way up to destination row 1. And now I'm gonna hold Shift Option on Mac. I think it's CTRL Option on Windows, and then you can just arrow down. So hold those 2 keys and then type the arrow down once, and you'll copy the whole section. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That should be all 9 rows, or you can just use classic copy and paste, whatever you want to do. So let's save, and then if we go look at our design now, we just made a ton of stuff just by copying. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, I've got all my rows here. And now all I have to do is fill in my different images and my different text. What you're going to do is go back up to the top of your first destination card. All right, so we just did right here, Popular Homes of San Diego destination card. This is the first one. Oh, actually, before we do that, sorry. Let's make sure our row IDs are set because we're going to need those too. So we have row ID, that's row 1. So just keep scrolling down until you see row 1 again and make that row 2. So right here, row 1. Now this needs to be row 2. This is the second row. Update all your IDs right now. So pause the video and do that, or do it with me. Looking for row 1 again. Go. Row 3. Got row 4. Row 5. So I think you get the point, guys. I'm going to keep doing this. Just go do this yourself. Row 6. I'll see you through the magic of editing when I got all this done. All right, so there we go. Row 9. I've got all my rows ID'd now, and that will come in handy as well in the future. So just ID all your rows, just in case we have to put special styles on one of the rows only, okay? And now what you have to do is you have to go through and update all your images. So if you downloaded my images, so we just did card 1, right? So let's go down, and we just did right here. So our destination card, this is our first card for San Diego. Now you just go down here. Here's your next destination card. So now you would go in your images. You go into IMG. And I have row 1 images. And now I need the second one. Room in San Diego. Save. And then go see. Okay. And then there's our different image. And then I would update the title and the cost. Oh, we forgot to put the... forgot to put how many stars. So whatever, you can update that card by card anyway because it's going to be different. And for stars, they just usually have like 5.0, 4.97. It's 1 to 5 stars. It's a number and a decimal. And I just made all this up, guys, when I made it. I didn't go verbatim. I just like kind of went through here and just made up my own stories. So after the rating, you'll put your... like after the star icon, which is right here, you'll put like 4.33 out of 5 stars. Save, and then if you go look here, now this one has the full thing, 4.33, same thing. Okay, So go through here. Again, I don't want to do this on all of them. I'll do the first row with you. So just make everything different so it looks legit. So don't make it 183 again. And then first let's do the stars for the first one. So let's see. Oh, that was the first one. My bad. So the second one, we have our second image. So let's go down, destination card. Got row 2 image right here. So now just make up your own story, dude. Guest favorite, put however many stars you want. This could be a 5.0 if you want it to be. And then, oh, whoops, wrong area. Down here. Sorry, guys. All these icons confuse me sometimes. Should go after the star icon. Let's say this is a 5.0. For 2 nights, this one's 300. Whatever you want it to be, right? Save. And now we have 2 cards. 300 for 2 nights, 5.0 star rating. Okay. Let's keep going. Do card 3. Let's just go quick through these here. So now we're going to go, if you have my images or however you saved your images, I'm going to delete the 3rd image, go back into my image folder, and I'm still in row 1. Now I need 3, apartment in San Diego. And then we'll go down here. And instead of guest suite, this one should be, I don't know, just change it so it doesn't say guest suite. So just say maybe guest house in San Diego. And this one, apartment. So you'd put, for the title here, you would say apartment in San Diego instead of guest suite. And then maybe this is 234 for 2 nights. It's a really nice location. And then do your stars, 4.98. Okay. And then again, we can see we just updated it now. Cool. Guest house, apartment, different stars, different costs, so on and so forth. We'll do one more together. This is all you're doing throughout the whole thing, guys. Just go get your images and paste them in. Now we're on the 4th image. So we'll go image, row 1, image 4, place to stay. And I just look at the image to decide what I'm going to put there. So place to stay. So this might be another guest house is what it looks like. So just going by the image, I'll say, or you can just put like room in San Diego. Some people just rent out rooms. Room in San Diego. And it's only going to be 113 for 2 nights. It's just one room, whatever you wanted to put. And then other people thought it was like a 4.67. Save. And that should be our 4th card right there. Okay. So this is just the desktop view. So now go through, just keep going through. That's your job now. I'm not going to do all this on screen, take an hour doing this. Keep going through card by card. Use my images or whatever, however you saved your images. Go row by row, or you can save all the images now as you go. And remember to save an image. How you do it to get the image from the regular Airbnb website is you can't right click and save from this screen because it's just being rendered. It's not really there. You have to click into it, go to this screen, and then this is your first image. Right click, save image as if you're going to save them now. But go through now and update for each 9 or 10 rows, however many rows you did. Update each image, give it a different descriptive header for each one, give it a cost, and give it how many out of 5 stars it is after your star icon. So just like we've been doing here. So go ahead and do that now. Pause the video. Again, I'm not going to do this for an hour on screen with you guys. This is just like tedious little work. And then when you come back, you'll have all images, all titles, everything unique and different. And don't forget to update your headings for each area because it's not all going to be San Diego. It's going to be like the real one. It's going to be San Diego. For me, it's Flagstaff, which is northern Arizona, Phoenix, which is central Arizona, Sedona. Okay, it should be different for each one, different headers and pictures of the actual places to make this look legit. So go ahead and update your code now, and then when we come back, we'll make this area mobile responsive. All right, guys. So now you should have all your cards filled in, and it should look like this, at least for your desktop view, 7 across. So desktop, big monitors, even laptops, 13, 14-inch laptops and up should look like this. You should have 7 going across, 7 destinations, the image, everything that we just did should all be here and all be good to go. So hopefully you were able to do that yourself on screen. Again, all you had to do was add unique images and unique text. Everything else was already made, right? So now what we're going to do is we're just going to go through, add some media queries, and we're going to make this mobile responsive so that as we Resize the screen. The areas will go from 7 to 6 showing to 4 down to 2 for mobile. So it'll be all mobile responsive. So to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to go down here and we're going to make another media query. So let's grab this media query, just copy it, some curly braces. And the max width on this is going to be 1368. So we'll say 1368. 1368 pixels max, which is like large tablets basically. And we're just going to change a few things. So on those screen sizes, we're going to say dot container. And I'm going to change the width of our container class to 95%. Okay. That. And then we're going to grab our destinations grid container next. Paste it down here. And everything's going to be the same, but we're going to change our repeat area. So delete all that. It's going to be the same. Now it's going to be 6 1FR. Okay, so you can see now it's only going 6 across. And then we're going to make this last one disappear. So we're going to, remember we have that, we added the class of large tablet to the last image. So we'll say large tablet. Oops, what the heck. And then we're going to say display none. Boom. And now that one will disappear. And now we only have that many going across. And then same thing, we're going to copy this. We're going to make another media query for smaller size tablets. We're going to say 1181 pixels and smaller. We're going to do the following. We're going to say dot medium tablet. So all the ones that we put medium tablet on, all the cards, which we just did in the last video, we're going to say display none. Okay, so now it's only 4 across. And then this is going to change to 4 1FR. So we'll change this to 4 1FR. Boom. And now it looks like that. So even better, right? See how I used classes to just make this really easy? Now, while you might be new to this stuff and you just want to do this project with me because you think it looks cool, I mean, that's what I used to do when I was in your position. So I'm just guessing here. Some of this might be overwhelming, but just try to pick like the overarching design things that I'm doing, like adding classes that I can use later on, like a large tablet, reusable classes. I'm reusing and copying as much code as I possibly can just to make this as easy as possible. So at least try to get that part of it down, what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, okay? Everything else, all the little details, that'll all come with time. So anyway, let's continue on. We want to go down now to the 1023. Let's see. This might actually stay the same for now, but we'll go down to 767. And for 767, we're going to grab destinations. We're going to say dot destinations. Say margin top 8 rem. Okay. So that when we go down here and we have this menu, this stuff has plenty of breathing room here. So now it's there. So if we take that off, save, now it's way up there and it's hidden even at the top, kind of. So if we do margin top 8 rem, just pushes everything down so that you can see the full titles and everything. Our destinations grid container, let's grab that because now it's going to go from 4 down to 2. So let's copy that there. Now it's going to be 2 1FR. So now look what I just did with all those media queries. Check this out. Now it's completely responsive. We got 7, 6, 4, 2. Look at that. Look how easy, and Grid makes that so easy to do, right? And then we used our own little classes, but it's really nice. So again, we're not done, but I'm just showing you, like, look how cool that looks now. So down here, we need to say dot our mobile phone class. We need to say display none. What else? Let's make another media query. Let's go down here. We'll say 425 pixels and lower. So say 425. And I want to make our destinations heading a little bit smaller. So that would be like when it says destinations in blank. So right here, destinations heading, like what it says at the top, like available in Scottsdale this weekend, popular places in Vegas, stuff like that. On these little smaller screen sizes, we want to make that a little bit smaller, the text size. So we'll say dot destinations heading, and for those screens, we'll say font size 21 pixels, so that now when we shrink it down, the destination headings aren't so big. Okay, can't really see there, but let's go to. There we go, like 425, see? So we might even want to go down to like 18 pixels or 19. Let's make it a little bit smaller for those small screens. And then we can check this on super small screens. So say like iPhone 5 and smaller, like 320 pixels. So we need to fix this a little bit. This is kind of broken on those smaller screens, the guest favorite areas and stuff like that. So let's fix that. So let's say dot guest favorite, and we'll say left 7 pixels just to bring it over a little bit more. And then the FA heart, I'll say dot FA heart needs to be right by like 3 pixels. And this is supposed to be for small screens, so let's change this media query, my fault. Let's copy this media query, paste it right here. This will be for 360 pixels and smaller. And you just make these tweaks on your screen sizes and media queries by how stuff looks, guys. That's how you come up with all this stuff. You just constantly test it. I'm not gonna like do it all on screen with you where I constantly test and see how stuff looks, because that takes like another hour of just going through devices and testing stuff. But just know that that's how I came up with all these figures, is that's what I did when I first built this. I would just put in time testing everything to come up with all these stylings to make it look better. I think everything else looks pretty good though. Maybe the destination's text header can be a little bit smaller. So right here, destination's text header. Font size 10 pixels. And that way everything else could fit a little bit better. What else is there? Destination P. Can make that 9 pixels or 8 pixels. So dot destination P. A little bit smaller at 9 pixels. Okay, I'm just trying to make everything fit. There we go. Now it fits in a little bit better. That looks better. Just little stuff like that. So I think that's it though for what we have to do to make this thing mobile responsive. And now you can see, since we already made our menus, it looks good. But look at this, our bottom menu is a little broken on these smaller screens. If we go to the top, let's see. Oh, it's broken on like all the mobile screens. Let's see. All right, so we'll fix this menu here. And I think what broke it is because we did FA heart here and here. So now FAR heart here is listening to what we told it to do up here. So we'll fix that. Just to make our lives really easy, we have to change our hearts for one of these. So what we'll do, guys, to get around this is we'll change just the .fa heart to, it should be .destination image container FA heart, so that it'll be more specific only to that FA heart. So I'll change this to that. And then same thing for our media queries. Let's go down here. And it should be .destination image container .fa heart. So that should separate them from specificity. And then let's see if that fixed it. Okay, there we go. So now our hearts are separated that way. Cool. We didn't have to change a whole lot. Very cool. What else? And let's just check our stuff. All right, that's better. Now we need to change on smaller screens. So 425 destinations heading. So we need to change. This is even still too big. So I think it's that one. There we go. Make it 17 pixels. Now it all fits. Okay. So if we just go through here, let's go through a few areas. We'll see that on mobile screens, this all looks pretty good now. So this isn't going all the way down, but that'll be fixed as we make more of the design, so don't worry about that for now. But yeah, everything else is looking good. If we view this thing on an iPad Pro tablet, it'll just be 4 across at 1024. It'll go to 6 across if you turn a landscape. And then if you go down to like a Nest Hub tablet, just 4 across, it's like a smaller tablet. If we go to an iPhone 14 Pro, it'll just be 2 across, like it's supposed to be. We're looking good, guys. Pretty much all the phones are good to go now. Turn your landscape phone. It'll be perfect. So let's be done with this destination section now. And now all we have to do is move on and build, let's go to the real Airbnb. We have to build this massive footer area. Like this whole area is the footer. It's crazy. So we have, and we're not, see on the regular one, this is going to be dynamic and we're going to have, look at all these menus you would have to make. We're not going to do that. We're just going to make ours static. So ours is just going to be this highlighted and underlined with this one menu. These aren't going to be clickable to change the menus at all. We're just going to leave that static. So just this, these headings, a little divider, these list items, more lists down here, and then more lists down here and a little divider. That's it. So very easy. And then on mobile, they just stack up on smaller screens. It just all stacks up like that. So that's how we're going to make ours. Okay? Very easy, not too hard. So we're almost there. We're in the last part. We're in the home stretch. All right, guys. So let's start building the last part of this project. So we got all of our rows of images and places for people to go, right? So let's go ahead and build the footer now. So if we go down here, this whole big area, I'm going to make the footer, and it's going to have, it has like 3 different sections within it. We have like a dynamic menu area, even though, again, we're just going to make our static, not dynamic. So we have the dynamic area with a header here. And then the next section is like more footer menu type stuff that you'd usually see. So support hosting Airbnb. Okay. And then the final, there's a divider here. There's 2 dividers. And then the final thing is like the copyright stuff and term, sitemap, privacy. So a couple more. And then this is like a social media menu kind of. So then we'll make that there. So let's get our HTML markup for everything first, and then we'll style it up as we've been doing. So let's make this a little bigger, make this a little smaller. And we got a lot of HTML to write here, or a decent amount. So let's go down to the very bottom for HTML. And we're going to go below the main tag, and we're going to make our footer tag. And then in our footer, we'll have our container class, so everything has that same padding on the sides. And then the first thing that we have here is, I'll call this like the inspiration area kind of. So it's got like this heading and then these kind of like links. If we make this big again, it's got like a bunch of like headings that you can click to change what menu shows up basically. So we'll treat like this area and the divider as like separate, and then we'll treat these as like separate little lists. That's how we'll build it. So we're going to go in the container, and we'll make a div for that inspiration stuff, and we'll say dot inspiration dash container. And then in the inspiration container, we're going to have the header that says inspiration for future getaways. So we can copy this text, and then let's say we'll do an H3. Say dot inspiration dash header, and we'll put that text in there. Okay, and we'll save. So we'll see our footer area starting to get built down here now. And then below our H3, we'll have a div, and we'll call this area where all these like headers are that you can click I'll call it the dynamic headers container. So we'll say dot dynamic headers container. And then we'll have these be, I guess I'll just have these be like H4 headers because they're smaller. So we'll give this one a class of dynamic header. And again, we're naming everything dynamic because on the actual website, this is like, these are dynamic little things that you can click to change the menus on the fly, right? So we'll say dynamic header, and then the first one is popular. And then how many more do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Got 8 here. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more. So we'll copy that down 7 times. So say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have popular, and we have arts and culture. So we'll say arts and culture. And then we have beach. And then we have mountains, outdoors. And we have things to do. And then we have travel tips and inspiration. So travel tips and inspiration. And then last we have Airbnb hyphen friendly apartments. And that's kind of weird. Like, I guess people, you're like allowed to rent out your apartment. That's so weird. You like sleep in some, I guess you do the same thing, but it's like more personal, right? You like sleep in somebody's bed and stuff like that. That's so strange. All right. So there's that. We got our headers, and then we're going to have a divider. So let's go below our dynamic headers container div. So right here. And we are going to have this little divider line. So we'll just say dot footer dash divider. And we'll create that line with HTML and CSS. So that'll be, nothing's going to show up for now, but here's all of our headings so far. And then below the divider, we have all these lists. We have all these lists here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lists to show 6 separate lists that will flex side by side. So let's make those. And really quick, since on smaller screens, kind of like Airbnb does, they actually shrink down their footer and they don't show all of these. And then they have that dynamic stuff again where you can view everything. We're not going to have that, just like we don't have that for our destination areas. We're just going to make it static. So we're not going to have these little arrows here. So what we'll do is we're just going to hide certain menu items on smaller screens so that everything fits. So to do that, let's add some classes now ahead of time. We'll have a class called hide. So we'll say hide. And then we'll say hide on this one. And then we'll have mobile hyphen hide. And then we'll copy that, and we'll have mobile hide on this one. And then on this one, we'll have a class called XS for extra small hide. So we'll only show a couple of the titles. And then for popular, if we look at Airbnb, it's going to be underlined. So it's going to have like another one of those active classes on it. So let's add that now. We'll say active footer. All right, so now let's go below our footer divider. So this line here, and then we're going to have our menus. So we'll put them all in their own container. So we'll have a div. We'll say dot dynamic menus container. And then in here, we're going to have all these menus that we're supposed to have. So how many? It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 menus. So of 3 links each. So we'll get that done here. So we'll have a UL, our first menu. That'll have a class of dynamic menu. And then we're going to have an LI. And with the class of dynamic menu LI. And then each one of the menu like links has something bold and then like some light text here. So we have to do that. So we'll put them in an anchor tag with the class of, say, dynamic menu link. And then we'll get rid of the href for now because these aren't going anywhere. And how we'll do this is we'll have a span, and we'll use our bold text class. So we'll say dot bold text. And then we'll have what's actually in there. So the first one is going to be, on my current screen, it's London. So we'll put London in here. And then below the span where we don't want the text to be bold, we'll put a line break so the text goes on a new line. And then we'll put whatever's in there, monthly rentals. So we'll go, we have our 1li, so let's do that 2 more times. Say 1, 2. And then we have Galveston house rentals. So we'll say Galveston. And then this says house rentals. And then we have Queens Villa Rentals for the next one. So we'll say Queens. And then Villa Rentals. So we'll say Villa Rentals. All right, so everything here is coming around here. It's going to look like a big clump of text until we use CSS, of course. All right, so there's one menu. Now we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more of them. So let's copy that down. Copy our dynamic menu. It starts here, ends here, and we'll say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we got all these links in just a big clump here. And then we'll just go down and fill in each one. So here's where our second one starts, right here. Second one says Ocean City. So we'll say Ocean City. And then below it says monthly rental, so we'll keep that. The next one is Washington. So we'll say Washington house rentals. Good, that's already there. And then the next one is Oahu. So I'm guessing that's Hawaii. So we'll say Oahu. Let's see, how do you do that? Oahu. Okay. So we'll say Oahu. I don't know how to make that, and I'm too lazy to look that up right now. So Villa Rentals is there, so that's good. Okay, so the next menu has Portland and condo rentals. So we'll say Portland and change this to condo. So this isn't too bad, just, a little bit tedious. So we'll say condo rentals. And we'll say Pittsburgh. And then the same thing, it says condo rentals. I don't know why you'd want to rent a condo. And if you guys have ever been to Pittsburgh, it's kind of a rough area. We'll say condo rentals. And then now we're on to the next menu here. So next dynamic menu, now we're on Wilmington. So I'll say Wilmington. It says monthly rentals. Now we're on Richmond City. We'll say Richmond City. And that's Villa Rentals. And then last, we're on Orange Beach. So we'll say Orange Beach. And then this is Vacation Rentals. Okay, so we've got 3 more of these menus or 2 more of these to fill in. So on your own, just pause the video just for time's sake. Go ahead and do the last ones on your own. We're just filling in the link. So start to finish, like in order. Key West, Kyoto, Gulf Shores, and the next one will be Tokyo, Charleston, and then show more. Hang on, that's actually, if we go to desktop. Oh, show more always is there. Okay, so we'll do that. I'll show you how to do that, but pause the video and fill in the last two menus with the links on your own. All right, guys, so I have all my menu links here, and now we'll just have to do that last one that says show more. So for that, and it's bold, so we'll just keep, what we'll do for this last one right here is we'll get rid of the line break and the text, and we'll just use the span for bold text. And in there, we'll put the show more and the chevron down. So we'll say show more. And then we'll put our, let's go to Font Awesome. And we'll search for chevron down, which is what that is. Boom, we'll grab that. I'm going to make it small or extra small. See how that looks. Copy that, paste it here next to show more. See what that looks like. Yeah, that's perfect. Right there, we got it. Okay. So next, after this area, we have 3 more menus. Support hosting Airbnb with a bunch of links. So let's go make those. So this div is our closing div for the container class. So let's go above that one. And then we're going to make a new section in this area. We'll just call the footer menus area for these 3 menus down here. So let's just have another div. We'll say footer menus container, and then we'll have an unordered list. We'll say we're going to call these menus just footer menu. So we'll say footer dash menu, and then the first li in each one of them. Well, it's not even really an li. It is an li, but it's not a link. They're just like bold. So we'll say li dot footer menu li, and then the first one is going to have we'll actually leave that off for now. So footer menu li, and then this is just going to say support. There's no link in this. It's just a title basically. And then we'll copy this down and take support out of here. This one is going to have an anchor tag, and it's going to have a class of footer menu link. And then the first one here is help center. So now we're just basically going down the list the same as we've been doing, just filling in links. So we'll say help center. And then this first support one is going to have a class, again, of bold text, because it's also going to be bold. All right, so then after help center, we're going to have get help with the safety issue. So how many more of these do we have? In this one, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more links. So let's just copy this down 6 times. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And let's just go down here and see get help with a safety issue. So that goes below help center. So get help with, why would you go to, if you're in danger, call 911. Why are you going to go to this footer here? Whatever. The safety issue, kind of a silly link if you ask me. Especially to bury it in the way down here. Next is air cover. Whatever, that's another weird one. What are you going to fly in a helicopter to help us out? Anti-discrimination, okay. Whatever the hell that means. Anti-discrimination. Disability support. Disability support. Cancellation options. So that's a cancellation options. And report neighborhood concern. So we'll say report neighborhood concern. Okay. So again, this is just going to all look like a clump of links until we style it, but we have, tons of links and list items here. So literally we're just going to copy this menu down 2 more times and then change the link text. So this is our menu. Grab this. And we'll just say 1, 2. Okay. So here's our first one that has the support heading, right? So we go down here. This will be our second menu. And this bold title for this one is going to be hosting. And then we're going to just, again, go down and fill in the links. And then this one has more links than this one, so you'll have to copy a few more down, but that's fine. So this one is Airbnb your home. And then Airbnb your experience. So let's just copy this. Or Airbnb your, we'll just copy that down. Airbnb your experience. Airbnb your service. Air cover for host. I wonder what that means. So say air cover for hosts. Hosting resources. So again, guys, what I want you to do now is just pause the video. We have all the menus. Just go down, fill in the links or the LI bold text for each one. Okay, we don't need to spend a half an hour doing this easy part together. So just go ahead and keep filling everything in. The next one on this menu, of course, is going to be after hosting resources, community forum, and so on and so forth. Just keep filling on all your links. All right, guys. So I filled in all the menu links yet again. So now we have an even bigger list, right? So now after that, we have the final area. So we have actually another divider. So we'll go below this div here, and we'll say dot footer divider again. Okay. And then below that, we'll have our final. So this is the footer divider, and then we have our final 2 more menus here. So what shall we name those? Probably we'll put them in a container. We'll say div, and we'll call it the copyright socials container. That's what these 2 menus will be called. And then we'll say unordered list. We'll make another menu with a class of, we'll do this menu over here first, the left one, and we'll call that the copyright menu. So we'll just say copyright dash menu. And then we'll have an LI. We'll give it a class of copyright LI. Then I'll have a link. And of course, that's going to be copyright dash link. And we'll get rid of the href. And my first thing is going to be copyright Airbnb Inc. So that's not actually even a link, technically. So let's just cut that out of there for now. And we'll just write copyright 2025 Airbnb Inc. So to do the copyright symbol, it's an copy semicolon copyright 2025 air. See, how do they spell it? Air. Yep, just Airbnb Inc. So Airbnb Inc. Oh, and there's a comma here. And then there's little bullet points there. So if you remember, that's the and bull symbol. So we'll say, after the li, we'll say an bull. Put that there, and then we'll do our another li. So let's just copy this. And then in the li, it's going to be a link this time. So we'll say a dot copyright dash link. Okay. And then we have terms, sitemap, privacy, all that stuff. So we'll say next is terms. We'll say and bull. So we have terms, sitemap, privacy, your privacy choices. So 3 more links. So let's just copy those down. We'll say, grab the li, the a, and the bull. Say 1, 2, 3. Get rid of the bullet point on the last one. So terms, sitemap, sitemap, and again, guys, we're looking down here to get these links. So sitemap, privacy, and your privacy choices. So for that, your privacy choices little image or whatever that is, we're just going to leave that off because we have no way of replicating that anyway, and there's going to be no font awesome thing that can have that. So, and I can't save the image as, so we're just going to leave that off. It's not really that big of a deal. And then let's go below this UL. We're going to make our final list, which is like the socials list. So we'll say UL, and we'll give it a class of socials dash menu. Then again, we're going to have an LI with a class of socials dash LI. And then we'll have a anchor tag with the class of socials link. And then now we need to get icons again. So the first one we need is a globe. So let's grab that. Go up here, we'll search globe. And let's select this one. So we're not going to be able to get this one, I don't think, without having pro. Let's do small. Let's see. Pretty sure it's going to have to be the dark one. So we'll do the icon, save. Let's see how ours comes out. Oh, it came out as nothing. Yeah, because we can't use that one. So we have to use this regular one. So it's the solid one, which who cares, right? It's not that big of a deal. We'll do small. And we'll put this here. See if that came out. There's the globe. Okay, perfect. So we have that. And after the globe, it says English US. So we'll just put English parentheses US. Let's copy this link down. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 more, or 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we'll say 1, 2, 3, 4. After English US, we have the money sign and then USD. So I'll just do money sign, USD. Then next we have the Facebook font awesome icon. So let's get rid of the text, and we're just going to have an icon in here for Facebook. So it's the circle one. So let's say Facebook. It's just this one right here. And we'll use SM for small. Put that in there. Okay, next is X or Twitter. We'll say Twitter. Let's see if the X one is here. Yes, they do have it. So we'll say SM. Delete the text. Put this in here. And then I think the last one is like Instagram. Yeah, so we'll just search for Instagram. Right here. And same thing, a little SM for small. Put that here. Check it. There we go. All right, so that is it for all of the HTML we need for this giant footer area. Now we'll go ahead and style it up, and yeah, we'll make this look really good here. All right, guys, so now all we have to do to finish this, and by the way, if you're still here, this is looking good. Very nice job. Look at ours. Look at theirs. Pretty close, right? Like, obviously not exact, not perfect, but pretty damn good. Really, really good. At first glance, like I said, if your websites are at least good enough to where you won't realize if you're on the real one or the fake one, you know, when you're just looking at it, messing around, and then you look up, you're like, oh, this is not even the real one. You know you've done a pretty good job. So let's go ahead and finish this up. Let's turn these pile of links into an actual footer here. So almost done. So we have to go from making it look like this to separated with different sections and bunch of lists, but really just a lot of, just some styles. Probably it's easier to add a few styles to sections than to write out, 80 links of HTML, which takes forever, right? So let's go ahead and get this done. So we'll go down here, and we want to go down to, and you can use, if you have this little mini map over here, and just by clicking it, you can quickly get to where you want to go. So we'll go above the media queries, copy this comment, and we'll put a footer comment in here so we know where our footer CSS starts. Okay. And let's get started here. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to say, select the whole footer. We're going to say padding top and bottom 3 rem, 0 rem left and right. And again, guys, 1 rem is 16 pixels. So 3 rem is going to be what, 32, 48 pixels, top and bottom padding. And then we're going to say background color, and that's going to be hashtag FBFBFB. And if we save, which is like that light grayish color like their footer. So now our footer's got that color, and we've got some padding top and bottom. Next, we'll start doing our whole little inspiration area here. So let's grab the inspiration header. And remember, inspiration header is like this text that says inspiration for future getaways, right? Let's copy that, and we'll say the font weight for that, it's going to be 500. The font size is going to be 22 pixels. And we're going to give this a position of relative so that we can do a little bit of styling here down the road. We have to make that this little underline here, and that's going to make it so that we have to make this position relative to make that work. So see how it's on the divider itself, this little underline is sitting there, right? So we just basically made the header. So let's look at our header now. Okay, pretty close. Again, not going to be exact because we don't have their stuff. Maybe we should go font weight 600 though. Let's see. Maybe it's a little bolder. Yeah, see, it doesn't quite. We'll stick with 500. That's good enough. All right, now we got to flex all these headers here and put the divider down. So that's what we're going to do. Let's grab the dynamic headers container. And I'll put that here. Say dot dynamic headers container. And we're going to say, let's look at what we're doing. We'll say display flex align items center. Save. Now they're all side by side. And now we'll say column gap 2 rem. So they have some padding. And then we're going to say margin top 1.5 rem to bring them down from the header. And then again, we're going to say position relative for some future styles. Okay. So look at them now. They're going across here. So we're getting there. Just got to style up the headers themselves now. So let's grab our dynamic header class, which is the headers themselves. So we'll say dot dynamic header, and we'll give them a color, and it's going to be 6A, 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 6A. So that lighter color, and give them a font weight of 500. And a font size of just 14 pixels. And again, we'll say position relative. Okay. So again, they look scrunched up because they're not going to be going across like that on mobile. We're going to hide a bunch of them, but got all these here. There's ours, here's theirs. So again, pretty close to how they look on the real page. So now we need to make it so now let's do that little footer divider that's below here. So should have a footer divider div right here. Copy that. And then we'll say dot footer divider. And for that, we're going to have a background color of DDD. So hashtag DDD. Just like another lighter gray. We're going to give it a width of 100% and a height of 1 pixel. Okay, so there's our footer divider. And then we're going to give it some margin so it pushes everything away from it a little bit. We're going to say 1 rem top, 0 rem right, 2 rem bottom, and 0 rem left. Okay, now there's some spacing there. And now let's do our active footer class, because we got to make this like one popular has to be highlighted in black. So we have up here dot active footer. Let's do that. We can put this up here, say dot active footer. And for that, we're just going to say color black to make it black and stand out like it's highlighted like that. And then we have to have that little line down here. And to do that, we have to do some code that's a little more complicated. Not going to lie, I had AI help me with this one, so this isn't a solution that I would come up with on my own. But anyway, we would select dot dynamic dash header, and then right after it dot active dash footer, and then colon after, which is like a pseudo selector that I've probably never used in my life. And then we're going to say content, and we used to have to do stuff like this a lot before Flexbox and stuff was a thing. And we used to have to use things called floats to make stuff go left and right on a page. You have to do this content empty thing. Position, now we're going to do position absolute because we have to absolutely position this. So we're basically going to make like a mini little black divider and then position it sitting right on top of this divider. We're going to say left 0, bottom minus 16 pixels, width is going to be 60 pixels, height 2 pixels, and the background, which is going to make it visible to us, is going to be 0, 0, 0. And then there it goes right there. And then we can control this. We can make it go down lower, higher. We can say 20, say 23. So it sits right on top of there like it's supposed to. Okay. So now we've got our little underline under here. Check it on desktop. Let's make it go up a little higher. Say like 22. So we want it to be like, at least on desktop where it should be. So let's grab this and we can select it here with the element selector. So let's go out of mobile. Grab our element selector, actually select that little divider that we just made. And then we can go over here and use our arrow keys to like see in real time where it's going to line up on screens. So I think it should look good right about here. Maybe minus 14 pixels. So we'll do that. And it won't be exact on every single screen size. Let's see if does Airbnb, is it on every screen size? So we can adjust that for screen sizes, that little part, and have it be upper or lower. It is on every screen. Okay, so that's fine. But that, at least, that's a good start, and we can go from there. We can tweak it with media queries, its positioning, but it's pretty good. Okay, so it's always intimidating when you make a bunch of HTML that's just a pile of crap, and then you're like, oh god, it's like daunting. It's like having a bunch of dirty dishes that you don't want to wash, but then as soon as you get your first couple styles in there and you see it coming together, you're like, oh yeah, this is easy. All right, next we got to do our menus down here. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We got to flex those menus together. So let's keep going. We call those our dynamic menus, and they're in our dynamic menus container. So let's grab that. So we'll say dot dynamic menus container, and we're going to say for those display flex, align items, center, column gap. I'm going to say 10 rem. So let's see what we can do in here. So that 10 rem was spacing the menus out. They're spaced out a decent amount on here. So we want our last menu to be about right here. And if we look at our design, it's pretty much right there. So that's 10 rem is pretty good. Now we have to style the LIs. So let's grab our dynamic menu LI. So just grab any one of the ones that they all have classes. This is why we put classes on everything. Again, you might say, like, this guy puts classes on everything. That's overkill. Well, just taking that extra moment to put classes on all your LIs and stuff just makes it way easier to control them when and if you have to. And if you never touch them, it doesn't hurt to add them. So let's say padding, and we'll do 1 rem top and bottom, 0 rem left and right. Okay, so now that separates everything. Now it's starting to look more like it's supposed to. See that? We're getting there. Let's get our bold text class styled for all these, because the top one is always bold, the top word, top city. So we'll say dot bold text. And we'll say font weight 600. There we go. Now they're all bold. All right, and then the bottom one is supposed to be, let's see, if you hover over these, they're supposed to turn. So and then the bottom one is like that same light gray. So let's see if we can grab onto that. Let's see. Dynamic menu link. Let's say dot dynamic menu link, and then we'll say color 6A, 6A, 6A. So let's just make sure that our bold text is color 000. There we go. And then this will be the lighter color under it like it's supposed to be. Okay, cool. And then let's bring this font size down to like 13 pixels. And then when we hover over these, the links, that's supposed to turn black color. So let's make that happen. We'll say dynamic menu link. We'll add a transition. We'll say color 0.1 second, ease in. And then we'll say dynamic menu link, hover. And we'll say color 000. And now if we hover over them, they'll turn black. All right, so we got this area, and remember, this isn't mobile responsive yet, so it's not going to look good on all screen sizes, but we're almost there. Our next area is these other menus down here, and look at this is all getting separated by the other divider that we made. So look at this is looking a lot better. Now we have to do these 3 menus and flex them so that they look like this. So let's go ahead and get that done. So we have our, go below our dynamic menu stuff, and then these are just the footer menus. So we'll say, first we'll grab our footer menus container, copy that, dot footer menus container, and we'll say display, flex, align items center, justify content center. And now if we look here, they're starting to come together. Now let's grab each, or actually let's not justify those center, my bad. But we're gonna add column gap again. This time 23 rem, a ton of it, because they need to be spaced out like the ones on the normal site. They're pretty spaced out. Just like that. They have a lot of space between them, at least on desktop. Now let's grab each footer menu itself. We'll say dot footer menu. And what we're going to do now is I want you to notice that even though each one has more links than the other, they're all the same height. All of the headings start up here. And to do that, to make them look like that and like kind of look the same, even though they have more links, we have to put a height on them. We have to cap off their heights, that they're all the same heights, that they all look uniform and together. And to do that, we're just going to say height 575 pixels. Okay. So now they're all sitting. The headings and everything are all in line. And now let's grab each footer menu LI. Let's say dot footer menu li. Say padding 0.8 rem top and bottom, so almost 16 pixels top and bottom, 0 rem left and right, so they're nice and spaced out. And now it's really looking like the real one, right? There, okay. And now let's put some margin top here. Say margin top 6 rem to separate them from the other menus a little bit. That looks better. See, we got some space here now. Okay. So maybe we can kick that down to, like, instead of 6, like 5 rem or 4 rem. Don't want to overdo the spacing there. That's close enough though. Let's give our footer menu LIs a font size because these ones look a little bit smaller on the real one. So remember, these top ones are just LIs and the font is just 14 pixels. So we'll say font size 14 pixels. And now let's grab our footer menu link, which remember underneath these are the actual links. Say dot footer menu link, and those are also going to have a font size. Say they're a little smaller. No, they're about the same size. So font size of 14 pixels. Okay. And then when we hover them on the real one, they have an underline. So we'll put a transition. Say transition all. Transition all 0.1 second. And then we'll copy this. We'll put the footer menu link and we'll put hover on there. And we'll say text decoration underline. So now we hover over ours just like the real one. We'll get some underline action. Okay. Cool. And then let's make this font weight like 300 on these because it looks like they're like maybe a little thinner. Let's see. Say font weight 300. Okay. So let's compare. Pretty close, right? See, these are 14. Yeah, 14 and 14. Okay. So it's ours, or that's theirs. Here's ours. Very close, almost identical. All right. And then we got our divider here, and we're going to get into just doing our copyright menus. So let's get her done. So let's go down here, and we have our first one. Let's see, the first one we have is the copyright socials container that contains both of the menus. So let's copy that. Say .copyright socials container display flex. Align items center. Justify content. We'll say space between. So that it separates our menus. Okay, so we're already getting there. Almost there, guys. And then we'll say the first one is copyright menu. So now we got to flex those side by side. So we'll say .copyright menu display flex. Align items center and column gap 1 rem. There we go. Okay, so those are side by side. Now we just got to do the socials. So we'll go here, and now we want to grab our socials menu. And we'll say dot socials menu display flex. Align item in the center. And we'll say column gap 1 rem. Okay. Now if we look at them both, there's our bottom footer menu. Okay. Pretty good. Pretty close, right? So again, I guess we can make the text a little bit smaller on them. See, what does it say? Because it looks like ours is a little big. They're saying 14 pixels, so I wonder, can we just change them all with this? The font size with the container. Say font size 14 pixels. Yes. All right. So there we go. Now ours is a little bit smaller. Very cool. So our desktop version is done. We just got to add some mobile styles to this because on mobile, this menu, like it stacks, like less of the links are showing, and then everything starts to stack on top of each other, and then until it gets to like a single column. So like that. If we look at that, okay. So we're gonna make ours look like that now. And they add more dividers in between these menus. I'm not gonna do that. I don't think that's necessary. We'll just stack the menus on top of each other, and it'll be obvious that they're separated. Okay. So let's do that. The first thing that we'll do is we'll go to like our large screen size or large tablet area. We'll add a couple of styles for our mobile menu on there. We're going to say, we're going to select the dynamic menus container. So dynamic menus container. Or we should probably just copy that. Let's copy it. So dynamic menus container, copy that, go down here. And for that, we're gonna keep those, just we'll delete them, and we're just gonna change the column gap so that they're just 5 rem apart, so that they fit better on the smaller, even though it's a large tablet, it's smaller than like a large monitor screen. So that'll help those. And then we're also gonna grab our footer menus container. Right here, copy that. Say footer menus container, and everything is going to be the same, just the column gap. Again, we're going to put stuff close together, so we're not going to have a huge screen size. So this will go from 23 to like 14. All right, and then we're going to grab these same containers again, and then down when we get on smaller tablets, we're going to do some more styles. So it's really just tweaking how big everything is on these tablet sizes. So our dynamic menus container is going to go down to 3 rem column gap instead of 5, and 12 rem instead of 14. Just again, so we can easily fit everything on here. So now on these smaller screen sizes, like this is like the cutoff pretty much, everything fits better. Okay, that's what we just did. And then again, we'll grab these two again, down to our 1023 media query, paste them in. And we're going to say here is, we're going to delete this, and we're going to change this to flex wrap so that stuff starts just going on the other line when it can't fit. And then our footer menus container column gap is going to go down to 9 rem. We're just going to keep making that smaller. And then we're going to grab our copyright socials container, and we're going to change this to get rid of all of this. I'm going to say flex direction columns so that they start stacking on top of each other. And we're going to say row gap 1 rem, which is padding top and bottom. And then we'll keep the font size the same. And then I think we put a hide class on some stuff on our dynamic menu heading, I think. Yeah, so we have hide, mobile hide. So we're going to start making those now. On our media query. So we'll say 767. So we're going to say it's 768 pixels. We're going to make another media query for like the actual tablet size for the mini iPad. So just one more pixel up, 768. And that might sound funny, but trust me, I've tested this and I know what looks good on what. So we're going to have .hide come in on this one. And we're going to say display none. That's going to get rid of a few links from our dynamic headers. Okay, so now if we make it smaller, now those 2 links just totally disappear. And it would be about like right here. So travel inspiration, Airbnb friendly apartments. And then we do hide and 2 links disappear. Okay, so I think things to do and travel tips inspiration are gone now. See that? See how they fit better? Okay. And now we have 2 more classes. We have mobile hide. So let's grab our mobile hide class. And it's 767 right down here. Gotta paste that in, and we're gonna have that display none. So we'll say display none. Get rid of more links, and now more are going to disappear. Boom. Now we just have 4 showing. Okay, see how that's working? And now we're going to grab our dynamic menus container and footer menus container again. So let's grab these two, and we're going to add more styles to those at 767. Which, again, 767 is pretty much, we're getting into mobile phone territory. And we're going to go, we're going to say flex wrap. We're going to get rid of the flex wrap at this one. So we'll say no wrap. We're going to say flex direction column, so stack on top of each other in a straight line. We'll say align items, flex start. So align them left, so just stack them to the left pretty much. And we'll say margin bottom, 3 rem. And then footer menus container, we're going to say pretty much the same thing. I'm going to say flex direction column, align items, flex start. And again, flex start means, in Flexbox language, it means to the far left. This is the start. Flex end would be the far right, okay? Now let's grab our copyright socials container. Probably get it easier from here. Let's see, copyright socials container. And let's go below our footer menus container. And we're gonna say for that, align items, flex start. And we're going to say row gap 1.5 rem. So that's, now if we start making this footer smaller, you're going to see everything start stacking. See that? See what we're doing? And everything is like stacking now. And now let's grab our copyright menus and social menus. And add some styles to that. So let's go right here. And then we're going to say basically the same as this flex direction column, align items, flex start for copyright menu. And then we're going to add the row gap of 1.5 rem. And then the same thing for socials menu to ensure that, just to ensure that everything just stacks up and aligns in a straight line. So now everything is just going straight down. See that? Now we have another class for dynamic menu headers, I think, called XSHide, if I remember. Yeah, we have XSHide. So on XSHide, we're going to go to the 425 area. So we'll say dot XSHide. Well, whoops. That is not. Let's see, XSHide. Put our dot selector here. And anything with the XSHide class is going to be display none. Free up some space in the mobile screens. And then we're going to make our footer menus, which we gave a height. We gave them all like a set height. We're going to say footer menu. We're just going to put them on height auto. So just be whatever normal height you would be, because they're stacked on top of each other. We don't need them to look nice and uniform going side by side. Now if we go lower here, let's grab our, I think we have to do like one more style for our copyright menu. Let's grab copyright menu. So we should be good there. Let's check this out. Let's check our work now. So let's do the drag test. Let's get rid of our code. So we start out desktop, shrink, shrink, shrink. Stuff's going to start disappearing. There we go. Everything's looking good still for the most part. Now this is flexed on top of each other. Shrink, shrink, shrink. Okay. More stuff is going to disappear here. And then we go into full mobile mode. So this is like smallest tablet size. Still looks good. And then we're going to, now we're into mobile phone territory, and everything just pretty much stacks on top of each other. Just like that. Okay. And then if we actually check in on the devices. Now we could do a few things here just to clean this up a little bit, like our spacing. So if we go right click inspect, put this on mobile phones. Click mobile phone. Let's see. Oh, it doesn't look too bad. Actually, it doesn't look that bad at all. See if we go to 100%. So there is some space here, but that actually looks fine. So it looks better on the actual mobile phone, it looks like, than what it looked like when we were just shrinking it. We go over to landscape or small tablets now. And our menu on it says 812 pixels. This looks pretty good, man. Very clean. So maybe on like the very small, maybe you could get rid of the bullet points by like wrapping them in a span, the and bowl. Just put it in a span, give it a class, and have the hide class on it at certain or some kind of class just to get rid of them. If you want to do that, we are having a little cutoff issue here with this menu, and it's cutting off our height. So let's see if we can say maybe if we just give our footers socials menu some like padding bottom or margin bottom so that it always shows for sure. Let's see if that works. Say margin bottom for rem. Save. And there we go. Now it can't get cut off by that. So that'll fix that. I don't think that issue happens on bigger screens though, obviously. So that's good. We'll just keep it like that. Keep that space there so that they can see all the links. And yeah, we can just test this on some various devices. This is a BlackBerry Playbook, which is like half phone, half tablet. This is like a weird device. So I'll let you guys on your own. The only thing that I really see that I want to tweak is like the bullet points. What I want you to do on your own, try to do this all by yourself. Go into the code, wrap each bullet point in a span and give it a class to hide it, and then hide it on any screen. So like probably 1023 and lower, or 767 or 768 and lower, and just make these bullet points disappear because they don't really need to be there anymore at that point. Go ahead and see if you can do that on your own. But otherwise, things look. And then if you want to like tweak the spacing between here and here on this screen size 600, if you want to make another media query, tighten that up a little bit. It's a lot of gap right there. It's a lot of margin. Other than that, I'd say this looks pretty good. Pretty much like the original, right? Pretty close. Let's see, iPad mini. So it's an iPad. Looks good. I love how our menu. I think our mobile menus look better than theirs, honestly. The way that we like styled our mobile. Then we go to 1024, a little bit bigger, right? More space for everything, and it looks great. Very, very good. What else? How about iPhone 5, little screen? Even though nobody uses an iPhone 5 anymore, it's always good to see how it looks on the tiny screens. It looks pretty good. Look at that. Cool. Very good. Okay. All right, guys. So the completed code for the project is going to be in the description if you need help with anything. Also, remember, get your free practical web dev roadmap, link in the description. You just submit your email, and I give you the complete roadmap to finding to how to learn how to code the right way. It will save you years off of your journey if you read it. I promise you, it's worth the read. Check it out. Also, check out the complete web developer course, guys. If you're sick of like this tutorial was fun and cool. If you're sick of watching tutorials and you want to get to the point where you can break down designs completely 100% by yourself and do all the cool stuff that I just did in front of you without having to have the tutorial hand holding, check out the full stack web developer course that I have. Go to the link in the description. You can click Get Started. You can actually view the whole curriculum here, or you can click Get Started. And you can view the whole curriculum here as well. Like tons of lessons, tons of sections, but it's 100% project-based. There's no boring theory. I teach you how to build stuff. I teach you HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and PHP full stack by building a ton of small projects. Then we build a large PHP content management system at the end so that these concepts really get in your head because we're actually building stuff and learning by building. That's very important. It says that there's 444 lessons. Do not let that scare you away, guys. Each minute is 5 minutes or less because that's the easiest way to learn in small bite-sized chunks. So this 444, if I was somebody else who recorded like 30 an hour, minute long videos like a lot of people do with their courses, this would be like below 200 probably. So don't let that scare you off. We build over 25 projects to get you to where you need to be. Okay, guys, no theory. And then I even teach you how to build your own brand like I have. I have the YouTube channel, right, that you're on right now. I teach you how to build your brand, make a name for yourself. You can't just be Johnny Random. Like you have to have some kind of a presence online if you want to be noticed and get hired. So if we go to, look at that, ooh, new subscriber, yay. If I go to view the channel, I'm at 828 subs now. I've only really hardcore been doing this channel for less than a year, so that's pretty good. And I took 7 months off because I want just to focus completely on building the course. So I'd probably be at like 2,000 or 3,000 subs by now, but you want to be established. You want to make a name for yourself. If I go to apply to jobs now and I have this YouTube channel, all these videos, all these subs that are piling up, and I'm making sales on a course, that's going to be very, very impressive to an employer. You should get there too. And then at the end, we talk about how to make money. Okay, I don't just leave you hanging. How to make money, how to apply for jobs if you want a 9-to-5, how to make a portfolio, how to find freelancing gigs if you want to go the freelancing route, or how to make money as a complete entrepreneur, creating a business system, which is what I did here with my course. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Again, check all the links in the description. I'll see you in the next video.